Chapter 878. Lord Daoist 3 Yang was stunned. The Scorching Sun sect had been established in the Chu country for tens of thousands of years. He even had an impression of the ancient sects in the Chu country. However, he had never heard of the Body Refining Pavilion. Body Refining Pavilion? Is it a sect that cultivates the physical body? That should be right. This guy named Lu Kuan has a ridiculously strong physical body. Not only did he use his head to withstand the burning of the fire of 3 Yang, but he could also recover quickly. It's as if he has an indestructible body. Tu Tianqing's expression changed slightly when he heard the name, Body Refining Pavilion. He suddenly remembered that the Devil's Den that Tian Renjie was looking for was in the Dead Sea not far away. All the disciples of the Red Refining sect in the Devil's Den were dead. Even Tian Renjie was missing. However, this sect called Body Refining Pavilion was hidden in the Chaotic Sea. The physical body of the person in front of them could be said to be terrifying. His disciples must be people with vigorous qi and blood. They were the archenemy of their Red Refining Devil technique. Could it be that the Body Refining Pavilion did it? Lu Kuan looked at the expressions of the two, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. A layer of invisible force field suddenly appeared outside his body. A terrifying pressure that was completely different from the power of the nascent soul stage spread in the air. Everyone present, including the 2 nascent soul stage cultivators, felt their bodies tremble as if they had encountered a terrifying natural enemy. Suddenly, there was an explosion in the air. Lu Kuan's entire body shot toward Tu Tianqing. Due to his fast speed, there was an ear-piercing explosion. Tu Tianqing's expression changed drastically. He quickly took out a broken jade talisman and stuck it on his body. A thick layer of yellow spiritual light wrapped around him, emitting a shocking fluctuation. In just a short while, Lu Kuan had already arrived beside Tu Tianqing. He clenched his left hand into a fist. The fire of 3 Yang was tightly bound on the surface of his fist by the original power of his physical body. His right hand gripped Tu Tianqing's dark green sword. As the artifact trembled with grief, it turned into streaks of sword light that rained down like a storm. Lu Kuan's attack was incredibly shocking. The air around him was distorted by the immense power, but due to the restrictions of his physical body's source energy, not a single trace of its power leaked out. At this moment, Tu Tianqing felt as if he was being besieged by several nascent soul middle-stage cultivators. Every attack contained a strange force that caused the nascent soul power in his body to tremble. For a moment, he was actually unable to summon his mana. In just a breath's time, Tu Tianqing's thick yellow spirit light and his magic power shield were completely shattered, and the broken jade talisman was broken. With a flash of spiritual light, Tu Tianqing's nascent soul, wrapped in the storage bag, disappeared into his body and reappeared 70 to 80 feet away. This was the special teleportation ability of the nascent soul. If a nascent soul cultivator relied on this ability, even if they were defeated, it would be very difficult to kill them. The speed of the nascent soul's continuous teleportation was more than twice as fast as an ordinary escape light. Tu Tianqing's nascent soul's small eyes were filled with resentment. He didn't expect the owner of the Body Refining Pavilion to have such a shocking ability. His combat style was even more unheard of. His conjured physique was almost blasted apart in the blink of an eye. Damn it, without my natal magic treasure, even if I take over his body, my strength will be greatly reduced. A thought flashed through his mind. He activated his spell and continued to use his teleportation technique. But at this moment, Tu Tianqing suddenly felt an endless and terrifying force coming from the surrounding void. It squeezed the area around his nascent soul, and the air suddenly became viscous. His teleportation ability couldn't be activated. What kind of ability is this? Ah, fellow Daoist, please spare my life. In the next moment, the terrifying force in the void directly crushed his fragile nascent soul. A huge amount of spiritual energy overflowed and turned into a spiritual energy vortex that returned to heaven and earth. The storage bag was grabbed by an invisible force and floated towards Lu Kuan. Just as Tu Tiancheng's nascent soul dissipated, the three suns supreme in the distance was enveloped by a huge flame. His entire body turned into a fiery escape light and shot into the distance. The three suns supreme was scared out of his wits when he saw Lu Kuan kill Tu Tiancheng with a raise of his hand. What a joke, a body that couldn't be burned by the deviant fire, a speed that was as fast as a magic treasure, a storm-like attack, and a divine ability that could stop a nascent soul from teleporting. How was he supposed to fight against him? Lu Kuan coldly snorted. A surge of chaotic demonic energy was forcefully injected into the aquamarine longsword in his hand. A layer of invisible force field appeared outside of it. Then, his right arm swelled up and turned into a deformed giant arm. Lu Kuan suddenly threw Tu Tiancheng's longsword magic treasure into the distance. With the support of 1,200,000 pounds of brute force and the source strength of his body, the longsword's speed was extremely fast. The sharp sound of it breaking through the air was extremely ear-piercing. Then, his entire body shone brightly. His legs trembled, and a sonic boom exploded on the spot. Like a human-shaped magic treasure, he shot into the distance. After entering the bone transformation realm, although his demonic energy couldn't be used to fly, he could still use his bone treasure. The bone treasure's flying ability coupled with the void's power made him much faster than the three suns supreme's escape light. The aquamarine longsword's speed was even faster. In the blink of an eye, it caught up with the three suns supreme's escape light. Boom! With a loud sound, the three suns supreme's flaming escape light was directly hit by the aquamarine longsword. A terrifying circular wave radiated in all directions. The seawater below was pressed down by an invisible force, creating a huge crater. The flaming escape light scattered in all directions. A small fiery red round shield flickered with intense tricolored flames. It blocked in front of the three suns supreme. The nascent soul power in his body was tumbling. There was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. He seemed to have been injured. The aquamarine longsword was enveloped by an invisible force field. Its spiritual light was very dim. In just a breath's time, the demonic energy within it was completely exhausted. The source strength of his body also completely dissipated. Then, the longsword was bounced off the small shield. Seeing this, the three suns supreme didn't have the slightest bit of joy. His face was pale. His hands quickly formed a seal. The nascent soul power and the fire of three suns in his body produced a strange fluctuation. Lu Kuan's tall and sturdy figure appeared in front of the three suns supreme like a huge shadow. His two large fists emitted a blinding silver light as they came crashing down. At this moment, the fire of three suns on his fists suddenly exploded, causing his body to stagger. The flesh on his fists exploded, revealing the white bones of his hands. The three suns supreme took advantage of this gap. The tricolored flames around his body shone brightly. He disappeared on the spot and instantly appeared 10 feet away. Lu Kuan's reaction wasn't slow. He grasped the air with one hand, and 400,000 kilograms of void power surged out. A huge brute force immediately appeared in the air and squeezed inwards. A resolute look flashed across the three young supreme's eyes. The nascent soul power in his body was reduced by a large amount. A tricolored halo suddenly exploded, and an incomparably high temperature burned the air, greatly reducing the power of the void. The three suns supreme's face lit up with joy. He hurriedly used a secret technique to teleport away. With an even more terrifying speed, he fled into the distance. Lu Kuan felt the sparse demon chi in his body. His eyes flashed with a trace of amazement. The strange flame is indeed powerful. This person's strength is probably comparable to the mid-nascent soul stage. Lu Kuan didn't continue chasing. He had just broken through to the bone transformation stage. In this short period of time, his demon chi hadn't recovered much. He took the dark green longsword into his hand and looked at the dim spiritual light. He said with some regret, "The demonic energy and physical origin power are too domineering. A cultivator's magic treasure can't withstand it at all. This magic treasure can be considered destroyed." Then he took out a big hammer with dim demonic patterns. It was the heaven hammer that helped him pass through the last tribulation. He didn't know if the power of the tribulation was too strong, but this demonic weapon was completely destroyed. If he had attacked with the heaven hammer, the Three Sons Supreme wouldn't have been able to block it so easily. A bone transformation stage weapon is completely different from a traditional cultivator's. It's best to refine it with a reference to a demonic weapon. Thinking of this, Lu Kuan felt a headache. After the energy in his body turned into demon chi, not to mention the nascent soul stage true fire, even the core formation stage true fire couldn't be used. His refining technique also needed to be improved. Putting away his weapon, Lu Kuan turned around and flew back to Demon Spirit Island. After the body cultivator's lightning tribulation, all the cultivators within hundreds of miles could sense it. Demon Spirit Island was no longer safe. Moreover, after the tribulation, the ancient restrictions on Demon Spirit Island were completely destroyed. The spiritual energy would gradually mix with demonic and demonic energy, making it impossible to use as a sex base. Bone treasure stage body cultivators start to use demonic energy. Bone transformation stage body cultivators need even more demonic energy. Only a place filled with demonic energy and spiritual energy is suitable for the body refining pavilion. Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with a cold light. He already had a suitable place in his mind. That was the Cloud Ridge Mountain where the miraculous gate was located. First, he set a small goal. For example, 1 second. Remember, book pavilion. Chapter 879. There was a cloud in the sky above Demon Spirit Island that was covered in a layer of faint blue light. On top of the cloud stood a man and a woman. The cloud wasn't too high above the sea, but strangely, Lu Kuan and Xiao Jin didn't notice their existence. This man was none other than Feng Xiaobo, a core formation stage elder of the spirit transforming sect, who had escaped from Priest Corpse earlier. He slightly bent his waist, respectfully standing behind the chubby middle-aged woman. Feng Xiaobo's eyes flashed with fear. If it wasn't for the legendary Ancestor, he would have been killed by the top-grade bronze armored corp. He wouldn't have had the chance to escape. Looking at the middle-aged woman beside him, Feng Xiaobo felt a little excited. This Ancestor liked to mingle with Foundation establishment disciples. She had stayed in Abyss Island for so many years, never coming out. He didn't expect her to come out this time. Could it be that the Ancestor planned to officially come out and develop spirit transformation sect? The middle-aged woman ignored Feng Xiaobo's excited expression and murmured, "It's actually a supernatural power that only demon kings can have." The owner of the body refining pavilion, Lu Kuan? What the Yuan school couldn't do, this kid did. Back in Abyss City, I faintly felt that he had some kind of demon king bloodline, but I didn't expect it to be the famous long-arm demon ape bloodline. Her expression was indescribable. It wasn't clear if she was talking to Feng Xiaobo or herself. It said that the demon race completed their transformation and transformed from a beast into a human form. They broke away from the restrictions of the beast's meridians and were able to use the techniques of cultivators. That's why the transformation lightning tribulation occurred. Now, this kid's transformation completely broke the restrictions of the weak body of cultivators. That's why he triggered such a terrifying lightning tribulation. She raised her head and looked at the sky. Could it be that the will of the heavens has brought a glimmer of hope to the human race? Feng Xiaobo was a little confused. They were dozens of miles away in the sky, and he couldn't see the scene below with his divine sense. However, he could feel the terrifying power contained in the last lightning tribulation. Perhaps even a ninth-grade demon cultivator couldn't resist it. But from what the Ancestor said, it wasn't a demon beast that underwent the tribulation, but a human, body-refining pavilion? Could it be that he was an immortal cultivator who cultivated his physical body and used his physical body to resist the lightning tribulation? As Feng Xiaobo's thoughts ran wild, he did not dare to question this old ancestor. The middle-aged woman was silent for a moment. Then she took out a palm-sized green turtle shell that looked like a fossil. She slowly said, "Xiaobo, go back and inform Yuan to transfer the core disciples away. They must all leave Chu within half a year." Feng Xiaobo was stunned and said in horror, "Ancestor, could it be that a disciple of the sect has offended you and angered you?" "You?" The middle-aged woman tossed the fossilized turtle shell over and sighed. "My lifespan is coming to an end. I only have about 10 years left. The monsters in the outer seas are getting restless. They will most likely invade the Chu country. With the strength of the 10 great sects of Chu, they won't be able to hold on for long." Feng Xiaobo was shocked. "Old ancestor, you are living in symbiosis with the Black Tortoise Demon King. Your lifespan is sufficient. How could?" The middle-aged woman's eyes flashed with a trace of guilt. "It has already been 30,000 years. Even if the Black Tortoise Demon King's lifespan is astonishing, after living in symbiosis with me, his lifespan will be greatly reduced. Moreover, I have lived enough for so many years." She continued, "The techniques of the spirit transformation sect are all related to monsters. With the help of the monster's spiritual energy, we can increase our cultivation. We also have secret techniques to enslave transformed monsters. Our techniques are the biggest threat to the monsters. After the monsters invade, they will first destroy our spirit transformation sect. You should hurry and leave. Give this artifact to Yuan. She knows what to do." Feng Xiaobo's eyes flashed with unwillingness. He took the turtle shell artifact and hesitated for a moment. "But ancestor, for so many years, the transformed monsters of the 8th level and above have been hiding in the outer seas and are difficult to capture. Our spirit transformation sect has declined. The highest cultivation is only at the peak of the core formation stage. If the monsters invade, won't our chance come?" The middle-aged woman said indifferently, "Without me in the spirit transformation sect, do you think our techniques and secret techniques can still be preserved?" Feng Xiaobo was stunned, then shook his head with a bitter smile and put the turtle shell artifact into his storage bag. "If the monsters invade the Chu country, then a large number of high-level monsters will appear. Since the ancestor is no longer here, the spirit transformation sect's powerful techniques that can enslave transformed monsters and use their spiritual energy to break through will definitely be coveted by the 10 great sections." The middle-aged woman said again, "Oh right, how have you all been getting along with the treasured tool pavilion these years?" Feng Xiaobo was surprised. He didn't know why the forefather would ask about this, but he answered honestly, "Forefather, since you've ordered us to do our best to cooperate with the treasured tool pavilion. Their refining skills are indeed superb, and the overall strength of our sect has increased a little. The treasured tool pavilion's Zhu Xiaofeng also has a good relationship with us." The middle-aged woman nodded, her eyes filled with reminiscence. "Du Ruoqiao's personality is very similar to mine when I was young. I also did it on a whim. Now it seems that I have given the spirit transformation sect a way out." Seeing that Feng Xiaobo was confused, the middle-aged woman waved her hand and said, "Okay, you can go back. Yuan knows what to do." "Yes, ancestor." Feng Xiaobo was wrapped in the middle-aged woman's blue light and flew towards the land, leaving the middle-aged woman alone on the cloud in a daze. The middle-aged woman looked at the demon spirit island below, as if she could see Lu Kuan from afar. She shook her head and sighed. With the nature of the cultivators fighting among themselves, the body-refining pavilion won't be able to develop so easily. If the great Zhou country's sects find out about the body-refining technique, they will definitely try to seize it. It is said that the space cracks of the devil race have changed. Without the help of the demon race, the immortal cultivators are no match for the devil race. This cultivation method of cultivating the body is simply a life-saving straw for those sections. She then looked in the direction of the outer sea with a complicated look in her eyes. Back then, the cultivators relied on the help of the demon clan to defeat the devil clan. However, after the Yuan sect and the top demon cultivators ascended, the cultivators plotted against the demon clan. The cycle of karma. I have been in charge for 30,000 years, and I have done my best. Then she muttered a few more words, and with a flash of blue light she disappeared. 100 miles away, the Three Yang Supreme, who was wrapped in the flame light, finally breathed a sigh of relief after confirming that no one was chasing after him. The dim three-colored flame returned to his body, and he swallowed a few recovery pills. His face was a little ruddy. The Three Yang Supreme rejoiced in his heart. If he hadn't released the power of the strange flame, which greatly increased the power of the strange flame, he wouldn't have been able to break free from the terrifying power in the void. The fire teleportation technique he used not only consumed a lot of nascent soul power, but also overdrew the strange flame's power. He would need to cultivate in seclusion for several years to recover. The Three Yang Supreme recalled the previous battle with lingering fear, as if he had walked on the edge of death. Although Tu Tianqing's strength was weak, he was still a nascent soul cultivator. He didn't expect that he would be killed so easily like a dog. Even his nascent soul couldn't escape. He had never heard of such a fierce attack. Thinking of the scene where he took the attack head-on, he swallowed a mouthful of saliva, and his heart was still beating violently. This brute force is too terrifying. Even Tu Tianqing's magic treasure has the attack power of the peak of the middle stage of the nascent soul realm. If I didn't have the power of the strange fire and the crimson fire shield, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to withstand this attack. The body of the owner of the body refining pavilion is definitely stronger than that of a level 9 monster cultivator. What kind of cultivation method can allow a cultivator's body to be cultivated to such a level? What kind of strength does his disciple have? By the way, what's with the terrifying thunder tribulation? Does he have a top-level spirit beast? No, the body refining pavilion is so powerful. I have to report it to my senior brother. Chapter 880. Of course, Lu Kuan didn't know that a mysterious person had been secretly observing him since the 9th tribulation. He even recognized the divine ability of the origin power of his physical body. At this time, he was sitting cross-legged beside the pit in the center of the island, using the remaining demonic energy and spiritual energy to restore the chaos energy in his body. The Dead Sea Devil Cave's devil pool had completely dried up. The little monkey was holding a mining shovel and a storage bag around his neck as he dug the floor of the Devil Cave. The Thunder Tribulation had broken the Dead Sea Devil Cave's barrier and Monster Spirit Island's barrier. It seemed that some kind of change had occurred in the entire chaotic sea. The spiritual energy and demonic energy in Monster Spirit Island had gradually begun to mix. According to Lu Kuan's knowledge, Monster Spirit Island's Great Array was the 9-revolution devil-breaking array of the Yuan school. At this time, the devil pool had dried up and the Great Array had completed its mission. In addition to the array being broken, the chaotic sea would calm down in a few hundred years. However, what puzzled Lu Kuan was that the Yuan Secret Realm's true devil pool was used to produce pure true devil water. The true devil pool of the Qi State's 3 great devil sects hadn't been destroyed. But why did the Chu State's chaotic sea's true devil pool be destroyed by the Yuan school? Wasn't it better to use it to develop their devil sects? These thoughts flashed through Lu Kuan's mind. He focused his mind and restored his magic energy, perceiving the situation of his body. After entering the bone transformation realm, the body cells had become the same origin. Power could be transmitted throughout the body. For example, the power of the body could be transformed into sound wave. In addition to the sharp sound, it also contained a terrifying power. In addition to transmitting power, Lu Kuan noticed that the origin of the body had another special effect, and that was the assimilation of the body's strength. In other words, the powerful essence of a mature bone treasure would subtly influence the tendons and organs. It could even make the latter reach the level of a bone treasure. Although he didn't know how long this process would last, it had already pointed Lu Kuan in the direction of cultivation. His future cultivation was to accelerate this process. According to his experience in body refining, the first step was to make his tendons reach the level of a bone treasure. Now, his tendons were no different from ordinary magic treasures, causing his muscles and skin to be incomparably tough. If his tendons reached the level of a mature magic treasure, his body's strength would increase. As for how his organs and blood would be assimilated by the bone treasure cells, he wasn't sure yet. But from the looks of it, the bone transformation realm was very likely to reach the level of body assimilation, reaching the true fusion. Flesh and bone. As for the future, Lu Kuan still had no idea. However, after the fusion of life force, the demon energy in his body could already temper his bone treasure. After the fusion of bone and flesh, the tempering of bone treasure was equivalent to the tempering of the whole body. His body would definitely continue to improve. The biggest problem now was cultivation resources. In an area where spirit chi and demonic chi did not coexist, Lu Kuan could only use demonic stones and spirit stones to recover and cultivate. The consumption was too great, and even with his status, he could not afford it. Therefore, Lu Kuan wanted to make a move on the Miraculous Gate as soon as possible. The Miraculous Gate was located in the Cloud Ridge Mountains, which was filled with pure devil chi and spirit chi. There was even a true devil pool there. It was such a waste for the Miraculous Gate to use such a precious place. The Yunling Mountains should belong to the Body Refining Pavilion. Lu Kuan had accumulated a lot of power. After passing the 9 layers of heavenly tribulation, he had entered a new realm of body cultivator. Not only had his lifespan greatly increased, his strength had also increased by several fold. He was able to kill an early nascent soul cultivator like Tu Tiancheng with a wave of his hand. According to Lu Kuan's assessment of his strength, his attack power had reached the middle stage of the nascent soul realm. His physical body's defensive power was even more astonishing. In a short period of time, even a great cultivator would find it difficult to injure him. If he used the power of his arms, he could definitely fight against a great cultivator. In addition, Lu Kuan was still not proficient in using the origin power of his physical body. There was still a lot of room for improvement in his combat power. As for the Miraculous Gate's Grand Elder, Shi Jingtian, although he had entered the late stage of the nascent soul realm, he had been severely injured by old Demon Pang and was in a weakened state. As long as they planned well, they would have a great chance. Everyone else on the Demon Spirit Island was busy. Xiao Hongfei and the others were packing up everything on the island. The Demon Spirit Island was no longer safe and needed to be evacuated quickly. Sher Chao and the others took away the Black Mountain Apes and the Demon Spirit Wood. If they could return to the Wei Kingdom's Lu province, then the Spirit Illumination Mountains would be the best place for the Black Mountain Apes to stay. After half a day, everyone had packed up everything. Xiao Jin had also turned the Dead Sea Devil Cave upside down and obtained more than 40,000 devil stones. Xiao Hongfei and the others left first and met up with Zhu Xiaofeng and Qin Yushu from the Treasure Pavilion. They told Lu Kuan the good news of his breakthrough and agreed to meet everyone at a new place. Sher Chao and the others rushed back to the warriors' holy city under Lu Kuan's orders. They ordered all the disciples to disguise themselves as ordinary warriors and migrate to the Chu Kingdom's Eastern Pool province. The biggest difference between the disciples of the Body Refining Pavilion and the immortal cultivators was that the cultivation techniques they practiced were very different. The immortal cultivators' magic power detection techniques could not detect the physical body's magic power at all. If a large number of immortal cultivators came to the chaotic sea to investigate because of the heaven and earth thunder tribulation phenomenon, they would only look for immortal cultivators and would not pay attention to mortal warriors at all. After Lu Kuan recovered some of his magic power, he also left with them. From Tu Tianqing's storage bag, he knew that this guy was actually a nascent soul stage cultivator of the Red Refining sect. After Tu Tianqing died, the Red Refining sect was like an unguarded beauty, tempting Lu Kuan. Not to mention other things, just the large amount of blood coagulation grass inside was a necessity for their body refining pavilion. If Lu Kuan's guess about the sternum tool spirit root could be realized, then the blood coagulation grass would be even more important. Only by carving a spirit-controlling array on the body could it make up for the lack of spirit-controlling array of the tool spirit root. Before the body cultivator broke through the bone treasure stage, if he used the blood coagulation grass to carve a spirit-controlling array on the bones, it would be easier to control the spirit power, condense the core and melt the bones. In addition, he was also very interested in the oath stone of the Red Refining sect. As for the relationship between the Red Refining sect and the Blood Refining sect, the 10 major sects of the Chu country may not know, but he knew very well that this sect was just a bait placed in the Chu country by the Blood Refining sect to lure the Demon King's soul. In addition, Old Monster Pang was dead, and the Blood Refining sect was in a period of internal power replacement. How could they care about the life and death of the Red Refining sect? Lu Kuan had no scruples at all. A day later, many Qi refining disciples of the Red Refining sect were horrified to find that all the blood coagulation grass spiritual fields had become a big pit. Not to mention the disappearance of the blood coagulation grass of various years, even the spiritual soil had been dug away. The strange thing was that no one came to blame them. They didn't even see any foundation establishment disciples. Even the deacon of the mission hall had disappeared. The panicked Qi refining disciples searched everywhere in the valley of the Red Refining sect. As a result, they found that the restriction of the cultivation technique pavilion and the elixir room had been broken. The cultivation technique and elixir inside had disappeared. It was as if a robber had robbed their Red Refining sect. At this time, everyone was in a panic. The Red Refining sect was a sect with a nascent soul stage ancestor. Why was the sect robbed and the foundation establishment disciples disappeared? These elders didn't react at all. Some people guessed that the sect had changed. The nascent soul stage elders had all evacuated with the core disciples and savings. They, the Qi refining disciples, were abandoned. After another half a day, all the Qi refining disciples suddenly found that the restriction of the oath stone in their souls had dissipated. They were stunned at first, and then quickly packed up their things. Whether the sect was robbed or the old ancestor evacuated with the core disciples, without the oath restriction, they were free. If they didn't leave now, when would they leave? Some vicious disciples took this opportunity to attack their fellow disciples. Some people ran in the valley to search for the resources that the sect might leave behind. For a time, the valley of the Red Refining sect was in chaos. A few days later, all the major sects of the Chu state received a very shocking news. In addition to some Qi refining stage disciples, the Red Refining sect, from the Yuanying stage ancestors to the Foundation establishment stage disciples, were slaughtered, and the entire Red Refining Valley was empty. There were rumors among the cultivators that this was done by the monster cultivator. The previous strange phenomenon in the Sea of Chaos was the thunder tribulation of several level 7 monsters. Because the nascent soul stage ancestors of the Red Refining sect went to destroy it, these monster cultivators destroyed the Red Refining sect in anger. There were also cultivators who said that it was done by several nascent soul stage seniors who had a grudge against the Red Refining sect. The entire Chu state's immortal cultivation world suddenly became lively because of the destruction of the Red Refining sect. First, set a small goal, such as 1 second. Remember, Bookhouse. Chapter 881. In the sky above the cloud prefecture of the Chu country, a silver spirit shuttle was flying rapidly. 2 men were standing on it. One of them was extremely burly, and the air around his body was slightly distorted, emitting a terrifying pressure. The other person had a delicate appearance and was controlling the spirit shuttle. These 2 people were Lu Kuan and his 4th disciple, Yu Xian. After Lu Kuan swept through the valley of the Red Refining Sect, he set off with Yu Xian. The other disciples of the Body Refining Pavilion scattered and hurried on their way in the secular city. At this time, Lu Kuan clenched one of his hands, and a 4-colored flame floated above his palm. This flame seemed to be torn by some kind of force, and it changed into various forms. Sometimes it was a square, sometimes it was a ball, and sometimes it was a triangle. Yu Xian stared at this flame without blinking. This was obtained by him, Sherchao, and Xiao Jin when they ambushed Ouyangla and killed this intermediate core formation stage powerhouse who had a strange flame. Seeing Lu Kuan tearing the strange flame, Yu Xian couldn't help but ask, "Master, is this strange flame under the tracking spell of the 3 Yang Supreme?" Lu Kuan shook his head. "I didn't find anything strange. It should be because of the fire of 3 Yang itself, which made the 3 Yang Supreme feel it. After all, the fire of 3 Yang in that old guy's body is much stronger." Yu Xian was a little worried. "Then I can't use the strange flame to break through?" Lu Kuan snorted. "Although I can't use the spells of the immortal cultivators, the power of the demonic energy is not something that can be understood by the immortal cultivators." As he spoke, a silver energy surged out of his palm and wrapped around the 4-colored flame. The flame immediately trembled violently, and waves of violent fluctuations surged out. In a few breaths, the 4-colored flame was divided into 2, turning into a 3-colored flame and a dark red flame. Lu Kuan revealed a knowing look. Although the primal chaos demonic energy was very gentle in his body, that was only relative to a body cultivator. In reality, this energy was extremely violent. When he was dealing with 3 Yang Supreme, he had injected his devil energy into 2 Tiancheng's natal magic treasure, causing the internal formation of this nascent soul magic treasure to be completely destroyed. Later, he sneaked into the Red Refining Sect to see if his demonic energy could refine the Oath Stone. Who knew that after his demonic energy entered, the restrictions inside were like magic treasures and were shattered into pieces. This characteristic of demon energy seemed to be a combination of the devouring power of Qi and blood demon energy and the destructive power of Dharma energy. Compared to the Dharma energy of immortal cultivators, it was extremely overbearing, as if it could destroy everything. Lu Kuan felt that his chaotic demonic energy was definitely more powerful than the demonic energy in the bodies of demons. If it was injected into the body of an immortal cultivator, its overbearing characteristics would probably directly destroy the weak dantian of the immortal cultivator. Under the impact of the demonic energy, this 4-colored flame was reduced to the fire of 3 Yang and the primal Yang earthly fire. Lu Kuan raised his palm and wrapped the dark red primal Yang earthly fire with the power of the void. He suspended it in front of Yu Xian. "This is the primal Yang earthly fire. It doesn't have the aura of the fire of 3 Yang and its power is much weaker. It's just right for you." Yu Xian quickly took out a special red jade bottle and stored the primal Yang earthly fire in it. Her eyes were filled with joy. He only had a 3-star physique. With the deviant fire, he could try to use the deviant fire to condense the core and increase the chances of condensing the core and melting the bones. Lu Kuan used his demonic energy to wrap the fire of 3 Yang into a small silver ball, isolating all the aura. He then wrapped it in a stone box made of spirit extinguishing ore before putting it away. He looked at the happy Yu Xian with a hint of approval in his eyes. He had looked up the deviant fire to condense the core after killing the Taoist priest Skyfire. However, he had already entered the treasure bone stage and did not have a gold core in his body, so he did not take it to heart. Now that he thought about it carefully, This secret technique was indeed very helpful for the primal fire body tempering art. The deviant fire to condense the core was a bold guess made by a senior. The deviant fire was different from the immortal cultivator's spells. It was a powerful flame with spirituality. Even the weakest deviant fire required a core formation stage cultivation to completely refine it. This secret technique could allow a false core formation stage immortal cultivator to start refining the deviant fire and temporarily integrate it into their magic power. This would greatly increase the purity of their magic power. The deviant fire that had not been completely refined had its own spirituality. Naturally, it would not be willing to be scattered into the magic power. It instinctively wanted to leave the magic power and condense back into the form of the deviant fire. A false core formation stage immortal cultivator would take this opportunity to try to condense the gold core. With the support of the deviant fire, not only would the magic power be easily crystallized, but with the help of the deviant fire's ability to restore itself, the difficulty of condensing the gold core would be greatly reduced. Although it was much easier to condense the gold core, the deviant fire would completely restore itself the moment the gold core was condensed. The cultivator had to seize the opportunity and use the magic power of the gold core to completely refine the deviant fire the moment it was restored. If the immortal cultivator was not careful, the deviant fire would explode in the dantian and burn the body to death. This could be said to be a method of breaking through from the brink of death. However, the weakness of the deviant fire to condense the core was completely different for a body cultivator. Immortal cultivators condensed the gold core in the dantian, while body cultivators condensed the gold core and melted the bones. One was the fragile dantian, while the other was the incomparably hard and shockingly strong bones. Even if Yu Xian did not seize the opportunity to refine the deviant fire when she successfully condensed the gold core and melted the bones, with the strength of a body cultivator's bones, she would definitely be able to resist the deviant fire for a short period of time. She would have enough time to use the magic power of the bone treasure stage to refine the deviant fire. Zhao Qingtian used the 10 poisons as one to increase the chances of condensing the gold core and melting the bones. Yu Xian relied on the deviant fire's secret technique. Sher Chao used Wang Ruobing's frost sword to fuse the magic treasure into her arm bones and used it as the core to condense the gold core and melted the bones. It could be said that each of Lu Kuan's disciples had walked their own path. Thinking of this, Lu Kuan suddenly asked, Yu Xian, did little Yun really go to the Heavenly Sword sect? Yu Xian said with a strange expression, Yes, Master. Junior apprentice brother said that his demonic gold body is also an excellent talent for practicing the sword Dao cultivation method. Maybe he can learn from the Heavenly Sword sect's sword cultivation core formation method. Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with anger. He coldly snorted and said, Huang Xiaoyun, this stinking brat, doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. He hasn't reached the bone treasure stage and can't use the bone concealing technique. What if he is discovered? Yu Xian saw that his master was so angry and secretly worried for Huang Xiaoyun. After a while, Lu Kuan slowly said, Yu Xian, change direction. Go to the Heavenly Sword sect. Yu Xian said in surprise, Master. Lu Kuan waved his hand and said, Master has something to discuss with the great elder of the Heavenly Sword sect. I'll bring this brat back while I'm at it. Okay, tell me about the current situation of the body refining pavilion. Yu Xian was stunned for a moment, then said excitedly, Master, among the first-generation disciples, eldest senior apprentice brother, second senior apprentice brother, and third senior apprentice sister have all entered the bone treasure stage. Little Yun and I have also reached the great completion of body tempering. With the help of a large amount of poison, we can try to break through in 10 years. Little Yan's skin is rough and his flesh is thick, so the effect of the poison is not as good. I'm afraid it will take more than 20 years. Lu Kuan nodded gently. Pan Yen had the body of solid earth and practiced the Yuan earth body refining technique. Even the defense of his internal organs was amazing. It was more time-consuming to recultivate his internal organs. Yu Xian looked excited and continued, among the second-generation disciples, the youngest, Duan Yiyun, also entered the bone-tempering stage not long ago. Now our body refining pavilion has a total of 17 bone-tempering stage body cultivators. Lu Kuan's expression changed, and he interrupted. How many people failed to break through? Yu Xian's eyes dimmed slightly. 6 people died. Lu Kuan said slowly, the probability of breaking through is already very high. The will and determination of martial artists to pursue the realm are much stronger than ordinary immortal cultivators. By the way, what about the mortal martial artists? Yu Xian said, there are 233 martial artists who have reached the great completion of the Vajra mantra. Among them, 183 have spirit-controlling celestial artifact. Their combat power is completely equivalent to that of an immortal cultivator in the middle or late stage of qi refinement. There are even more martial artists who have not reached the great completion. There are more than 400 people. These people are very young. Sooner or later, they will also enter the great completion of the Vajra mantra. Lu Kuan looked in the direction of Wei Kingdom and muttered, this is far from enough. First set a small goal, such as 1 second. Remember, book guest residence. Chapter 882. Bluestone Town was located in the eastern Pool province of Chu Country. It was a small town for mortals near the land of death. 20 miles to the west of the town was a mountain range where the disciples of the body refining pavilion gathered temporarily. The spirit energy here was less abundant than in other provinces. Lu Kuan flew above the land of death, feeling the dense cold energy. He sighed with emotion. The land of death had a deep connection with him. More than 100 years ago, with the help of the cold energy and the thunderfall spell, he built his foundation for the second time. He built a solid foundation for his body, and his strength skyrocketed. From his current point of view, his strength of 50,000 jin, which far exceeded that of an ordinary body cultivator, was most likely related to his long-arm demon ape bloodline other than the fact that he had recultivated. When he returned to the land of death again, he was already at the bone treasure level. By chance, he found the broken defensive formation of the one-line sky and harvested priest corpse, the mutated flying ant and the pupa of the blade scorpion. The land of death extended all the way north to the abyss of death in the Qi kingdom. According to Lu Kuan's guess, the razor-venomous scorpion and the ant with a terrifying divine sense had entered the Yuan secret realm through the abyss of death. Thinking of this, Lu Kuan paused. Priest Corpse's figure appeared beside him. After absorbing the inner core of the blade scorpion, this bronze shell corpse improved to the top level. That blade scorpion was a level 9 dark insect, equivalent to the middle level of the nascent soul level. Its cold energy was extremely dense. Priest Corpse actually improved by a small level. What kind of conditions would it take for Priest Corpse to break the bottleneck and become a silver shell zombie? If he had the help of a silver shell zombie, who was as powerful as a nascent soul stage being, Lu Kuan would be more confident about the following series of plans. Pondering for a while, he suddenly took out a black stone box. After opening it layer by layer, a small piece of blood crystal appeared in his hand. Deep inside the crystal, there were a few beams of bright green light. It was Ba Yongkai's nascent soul power. Lu Kuan slightly flicked his finger and swallowed Priest Corpse. Soon, that pair of blood-red eyes of Priest Corpse sparkled with a bright light, as a strong desire was sent out from his mind. Lu Kuan scanned across Priest Corpse's body with his great spirit power, sensing the slight changes of the cold power, while pondering. Devouring the spirit blood of powerful beings is the instinct of zombies. I didn't think that the cold power inside Priest Corpse's body could also devour these few streams of nascent soul power. Does priest corpse have to devour the whole nascent soul to break into the level of silver shell corpse? The more Lu Kuan thought about it, the more he felt that it was possible. When he was in old Devil Pang's cave, he saw Qian Jingshan's devil zombie avatar directly reach the middle stage nascent soul stage after devouring old Devil Pang's nascent soul. Then, he revealed a vexed expression. Previously, when he killed Tu Tianqing, he didn't control his physical body's origin power well and directly crushed his nascent soul. The power of the void is squeezing from all directions. Although it can restrict the teleportation of nascent souls, it's too violent. If I'm not careful, I might crush the nascent soul. If I twist the force field of the void into a few whirlpools and create a great suction force, I wonder if I can control the nascent soul. While thinking about how to use his physical body's origin power, Lu Kuan put priest corpse back into his rib bone. A great amount of early nascent soul stage devil power gushed into the bone treasure and darted towards the Heavenly Sword sect. On top of the Heavenly Sword mountain, 2 nascent soul stage elders of the Heavenly Sword sect were sitting in a pavilion. A pot of wine and 2 wine cups were placed on the stone table. The dark-skinned, average-looking middle-aged man was the current head elder of the Heavenly Sword sect, Yu Longfei, a very famous middle-stage nascent soul stage sword cultivator in the few neighboring countries. The other man had half-white hair and a pair of eye-catching sword-shaped eyebrows. He was a powerful nascent soul stage cultivator from the Heavenly Sword sect 100 years ago, Dugu Feng. Yu Longfei took a sip of the wine in his cup and asked, "Junior Marshal brother, how's the investigation on that matter going?" Dugu Feng said, "Senior Marshal brother, I've received accurate information. Li Wan of the Miraculous Gate failed to break through to the nascent soul stage. However, she didn't die from her core shattering. Relying on the uniqueness of her spiritual body, she barely maintained her core formation stage cultivation." He picked up his wine cup and said with some emotion, "The spiritual body naturally contains spiritual qi. The chances of her forming her nascent soul are definitely much higher than mine." "I didn't expect," Yu Longfei sneered. "Junior Marshal brother, I'm afraid it's not that simple." Dugu Feng was stunned. "Senior Marshal brother, do you think Li Wan is pretending? Secretly forming her nascent soul in other countries?" Yu Longfei shook his head and said, "The Miraculous Gate is already the strongest sect in the Wei country. There's no need to hide. I guess Li Wan has already lost her spiritual qi, which greatly reduced the chances of her breaking through." Dugu Feng seemed to have thought of something and his expression changed. "Senior Marshal brother, do you mean that Li Wan's spiritual qi was taken away by the other nascent soul stage elders of the Miraculous Gate to break through?" Yu Longfei continued, "Decades ago, I met Yu Lianxing of the Miraculous Gate. That guy had already reached the peak of the nascent soul stage. You have to know that the bottleneck of the nascent soul stage is extremely difficult. Yu Lianxing wouldn't let go of Li Wan's spiritual qi. For the Miraculous Gate, the value of 1 nascent soul stage cultivator in the middle stage is higher than 2 nascent soul stage cultivators in the early stage." Dugu Feng drank the wine in his cup and his expression turned ugly. "That is to say, the Miraculous Gate has 2 nascent soul stage cultivators in the middle stage." Yu Longfei's eyes flashed with fear. "It has been more than 100 years since the Yeyang clan was destroyed. Shi Jingtian has been staying in seclusion. I suspect that he has already entered the advanced stage of the nascent soul stage." Dugu Feng was shocked. "It can't be. How can the bottleneck of a nascent soul stage cultivator be broken through so easily?" Yu Longfei poured another 2 cups of wine. "Shi Jingtian cultivates the demonic spirit chaos technique. According to the records of the seniors in the sect, this technique can stimulate the cultivation of demonic power through the stimulation of spiritual energy. That's why the Miraculous Gate is located in the Yunling Mountains, a place where demonic spiritual energy is mixed. Shi Jingtian has spent so much time and effort to obtain so many resources. If he still hasn't broken through by now, he would be a failure. Dugu Feng suddenly felt that the wine in his cup was tasteless. He put down the cup and said worriedly, "If old Devonshire enters the advanced stage of the nascent soul stage, and Yu Lianxing reaches the intermediate stage of the nascent soul stage, will the miraculous gate attack us?" Yu Longfei closed his eyes and seemed to be savoring the taste of the wine in his mouth. He slowly said, looking at the time, "Old Devil Li of the Qingyang sect is about to die. This means that the Green Alliance only has one nascent soul stage cultivator left. Even if the miraculous gate wants to attack, it will take down the Green Alliance first." Dugu Feng's expression changed. The Green Alliance's strength has weakened and the sense of danger has increased. "Senior brother, can we take this opportunity to swallow them up?" Just as Yu Longfei was about to say something, the sound of a sword rang out from his body. It was very sudden on the sky sword peak. His face darkened and he said, "Which Taoist friend is visiting the Sky Sword sect? Why don't you come out and meet me?" As he spoke, an extremely bright golden sword qi shot out from Yu Longfei's body and into the void not far away. This sword qi contained an extremely terrifying sharpness, as if it could tear through everything. A burly man with short hair appeared in midair. He looked at the sword qi and the corner of his mouth curled up. The air in front of him suddenly twisted and a terrifying power stirred, forming an invisible whirlpool. The golden sword qi trembled slightly and wanted to go around the whirlpool. However, a terrifying suction force came from the whirlpool and forcefully sucked it in. This powerful golden sword qi was then crushed by this strange, invisible whirlpool. It turned into specks of spiritual light and dissipated in the air. Chapter 883. Yu Longfei's pupils contracted slightly. His sword aura looked like it was casually released, but it was actually a powerful sword aura nurtured within his natal magic sword. Its power was no less than the attack of his magic treasure. However, the burly man in front of him did not rely on any magic treasure. He cast a strange whirlpool without any magic power and easily destroyed the sword aura. His ability was truly amazing. He definitely had the strength of a mid-nascent soul stage cultivator. Furthermore, there was a powerful sky restriction seal around the heavenly sword peak. Even if it was him, it would be very difficult for him to fly in the air without any restriction talismans. This person floated in mid-air as if he was light. The sky restriction seal did not have any effect on him at all. It was as if he was weightless. He probably relied on this ability to easily sneak into the heavenly sword peak. Lu Kuan looked at the two people who were on guard. He squeezed out a kind smile and cupped his hands. "The owner of the body refining pavilion, Lu Kuan, greets the two of you. I have a reason to visit you secretly. Please forgive me." Yu Longfei stood up. His body emitted a terrifying sharp aura. The unique pressure of a mid-nascent soul stage cultivator spread out. He said coldly, "Forgive me for my ignorance. I have never heard of the body refining pavilion. May I know why Master Lu has to visit you secretly?" Dugu Feng also locked onto his natal magic sword and looked at the man in front of him cautiously. He did not know if it was an illusion, but he seemed to have seen this Master Lu before. Lu Kuan slowly landed on the ground and smiled. "The body refining pavilion is a newly established sect. Naturally, the two of you have not heard of it. However, Lu was once a disciple of the Yang clan." When Dugu Feng heard this, the memory in his mind suddenly became clear. He blurted out, "You are Lu Kuan from the Yang clan's weapon refining peak." Then, he shook his head violently and revealed a look of disbelief. "Impossible. When the Yang clan was destroyed, Lu Kuan of the weapon refining peak was only at the early stage of the foundation establishment stage. It has only been 100 years, how could your cultivation?" Yu Longfei stared blankly. He had never heard of Lu Kuan. He only knew that a few foundation-building disciples of the Yang clan had escaped. Master Lu's supernatural powers are astonishing, so he wouldn't lie about being a low-level cultivator. However, the name of this body refining pavilion doesn't seem to have anything to do with the inheritance of the Yang clan. Lu Kuan didn't answer directly. Instead, he looked at Dugufeng and said, "Since Taoist Dugu recognizes me, you should know about Lu's fighting style, right?" Dugufeng nodded lightly. He indeed had an impression of Lu Kuan. When he was at the foundation establishment stage, he relied on martial arts techniques and magic tools to fight. He was like an immortal cultivator, and his physical body was much stronger than that of ordinary foundation establishment stage cultivators. When he thought of this, Dugu Feng's expression became startled. He said with some hesitation, "Could it be that the body refining pavilion is a sect that specializes in cultivating the physical body?" Lu Kuan crossed his arms in front of his chest. His loose robe couldn't hide the strong muscles on his arms and chest. He said proudly, "That's right. Lu created his own body refining technique, established the body refining pavilion, and founded the body refining immortal cultivator lineage. The other disciples founded the treasure pavilion. They truly inherited the inheritance of the Yang clan." As he spoke, his mid-nascent soul stage divine sense emanated from his body. A distorted force field appeared around his body. His physical body origin chi radiated a strange pressure that immortal cultivators had never encountered before. Yulong Fei's divine sense wasn't too bad. However, the strange pressure from physical body origin chi caused them to feel a burst of fear. Goosebumps appeared on their skin, as if their physical body had encountered a natural enemy. The two of them subconsciously activated their magic power shield. Only then did this feeling gradually fade away. They glanced at each other, their expressions incomparably shocked. Creating one's own cultivation technique was already incomparably difficult, and body-refining immortal cultivators were even more unheard of. The difficulty of creating one's own cultivation technique was probably as difficult as ascending to the heavens. However, the strange pressure that seemed to be directed at one's physical body, as well as that strong physique, caused Yulong Fei and Dugu Feng to unconsciously believe it. If this was true, then this Master Lu was 200 years old. Not only did he create his own cultivation technique, but his cultivation had also entered the nascent soul stage. He could no longer be described as overflowing with talent. He simply had the demeanor of an ancestor. After a while, Yulong Fei recovered. He said, "I didn't think that Master Lu would establish his own sect. I don't know what business you have with this visit. If it is within my power, I will definitely help." Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with a cold light. Lu's cultivation has been successful, and he has formed his own force. Naturally, he wants to find the miraculous gate for revenge and take back Lu province. This visit is to join forces with the Heavenly Sword sect and destroy the miraculous gate. When Yulong Fei heard that Lu Kuan was once a disciple of the Yang clan, he had some guesses. His eyes flashed as he said, "Forgive me for speaking bluntly, but the miraculous gate's strength is incomparably strong. Moreover, it has an alliance with the blood-refining sect. Even two heavenly sword sects would not be a match for the miraculous gate. Moreover, the miraculous gate is in Lu province, while my heavenly sword sect is in Tsang province. The two sects are far apart, and there is no conflict of interest. Master Lu has probably found the wrong person." Lu Kuan shook his head. "For immortal cultivators, cultivation resources are enough to create a conflict of interest. Fellow Taoist Yu, Tsang province's spirit chi is already weaker than the other provinces. If the Heavenly Sword sect can occupy half of Zhong province, the increase in strength will not be small. The war between the sects is also an opportunity for the disciples. The two of you will also have the opportunity to kill other nascent soul stage cultivators." He saw that Yulong Fei was unmoved, so he continued, "As for the blood-refining sect, there is no need to worry. The alliance between the two sects is already vague, and the blood-refining sect is even more preoccupied with their own affairs. There is no need to worry. Yulong Fei raised his eyebrows and said, Master Lu, why do you say that? Do you know about the blood-refining sect? Lu Kuan paused and said in a dull tone, Old Demon Pang of the blood-refining sect has fallen. What? Old Demon Pang is dead? Yulong Fei and Dugu Feng's expressions changed. Old Demon Pang's ferocious aura was monstrous, and he was a top expert among the nascent soul stage cultivators. There were no nascent soul stage old monsters in the nearby immortal cultivation countries who did not know of Old Demon Pang's name. Such a terrifying expert was actually dead. Lu Kuan said again, although the blood-refining sect is trying their best to hide it, they won't be able to hide it for long. When the time comes, the Qi Kingdom's Seven Fiends sect and the Yin-Yang sect will most likely take action. Under such circumstances, why would the blood-refining sect interfere with the Wei Kingdom's affairs? Yulong Fei could not help but ask, since the blood-refining sect is trying their best to hide it, how did Master Lu know? Lu Kuan smiled mysteriously and said, Taoist you don't have to ask about the source of the news. Other than that, I also know that old Demon Shi has entered the late nascent soul stage and has become a nascent soul stage cultivator. Without waiting for Yulong Fei and the others to speak, Lu Kuan continued, however, old Demon Shi is seriously injured. I'm afraid he won't be able to fight for the next few years. Now is the best time to deal with the miraculous gate. Old Demon Shi has entered the late nascent soul stage. Seriously injured. Yulong Fei and Dugu Feng were dumbfounded. The news brought by Lu Kuan was so shocking that they even suspected that it was fabricated. After a while, Yulong Fei said in a deep voice, These are only Master Lu's side of the story. I find it hard to believe. Even if Shi Jingtian is seriously injured, he is still a nascent soul stage cultivator. His divine abilities are not something a mid-nascent soul stage cultivator can compare to. Lu Kuan smiled and said, Lu is only here to have a preliminary discussion with the two of you. You can inquire about the news and see if what Lu said is true. As for old Demon Shi, the two of you do not have to worry. That old guy will naturally be dealt with by Lu. Yulong Fei and Dugu Feng couldn't help but look at each other. If what Lu Kuan said was true, this was the time when the miraculous gate was weak. If old Demon Shi was restrained and the blood-refining sect didn't intervene, they might have a chance. Yulong Fei pondered for a moment and cupped his hands. I didn't expect Master Lu to have the strength to face a great nascent soul stage cultivator. I am not talented, but I would like to try Master Lu's divine abilities. Lu Kuan revealed an, as expected, expression and nodded. Lu would also like to spar with Taoist Yu and experience the strength of the Wei Nation's #1 sword cultivator. However, we'd better choose another place. If the battle fluctuations spread out, I'm afraid it would arouse the suspicion of the miraculous gate. Yulong Fei pondered for a moment and said, Only the Sword Valley behind our sect's mountain can conceal the battle fluctuations of a nascent soul stage cultivator. However, the Sword Valley is densely covered with restrictions. If Master Lu is alone, Lu Kuan waved his hand and said indifferently, Then please lead the way, Taoist Yu. Lu believes that the two of you won't take the opportunity to attack me. Yulong Fei's mouth twitched. He didn't believe this nonsense. If he casually believed others, he might not even be able to cultivate to the core formation stage. In other words, this Master Lu was very confident in his own strength and believed that the two of them wouldn't be a threat to him even if they borrowed the power of the Sword Valley's restrictions. Chapter 884. In the north of the Sky Sword Peak, there was a small valley with a radius of more than 10 miles. This place was shrouded in fog all year round. It was the forbidden area of the Sky Sword sect, the Valley of Swords. Every 50 years, the Sky Sword sect would hold a competition for Foundation establishment cultivators. The top 3 disciples could enter the Valley of Swords for 7 days. It was said that in the Valley of Swords, Foundation Establishment sword cultivators had a certain chance of comprehending sword intent. This was an attribute that would only appear after condensing a sword core. If a Foundation Establishment cultivator could cultivate sword intent, then the chances of condensing a sword core would greatly increase. After forming the core, their attack power would be stronger than ordinary sword cultivators. Every time the Great Sect Tournament, the Heavenly Sword Sect's Foundation Establishment disciples would fight for these 3 spots. On this day, Lu Kuan and the other 2 appeared above the clouds of the Valley of Swords. Their position was a bit strange. Dugu Feng was at the bottom, floating above the clouds. He was chanting and holding a disc in his hand. Lu Kuan and Yu Longfei were about 10 feet away from each other. They were talking in the air and seemed to be quite happy. After a cup of tea's time, the clouds above the Valley of Swords opened up an entrance. Then the 3 of them seemed to have discussed it. Dugu Feng flew in first, Lu Kuan followed closely behind, and Yu Longfei went in last. After Lu Kuan passed through the clouds, he didn't even have time to observe his surroundings before he felt a sharp sensation in his face. Even with his immense divine sense, he still felt a slight stab of pain. Lu Kuan's expression changed slightly. He quickly scanned with his divine sense and found that the sharpness filled the entire Valley of Swords. It was not Dugu Feng's doing. This made Lu Kuan a little surprised. He could be said to have come into contact with this kind of special intent many times. Back in the Spirit Demon Valley in Lu Province, the demonic aura there contained a frenzied will. After soaking in the true demon pool, he had experienced the brutal will of the true demon. From Hong Yuntian's letter, he had learned about the bloodthirsty will of the nether demon power. These 3 kinds of thoughts were extremely fierce. If a cultivator encountered them, their consciousness would be greatly impacted and they would lose themselves. If he didn't have the divine sense concealment ability, he was afraid that his consciousness would go crazy and he would die in the Spirit Demon Valley. However, this sharpness was different. Although it directly affected the soul, it was very gentle and did not seem to attack the consciousness of the cultivator. Aside from this sharpness, Lu Kuan also found that the heaven and earth origin energy that only great cultivators could use was several times denser here than on Demon Spirit Island. He relied on the 5 elements Chaos Demon Bone to sense the existence of heaven and earth Yuan Qi. He didn't know if Yu Longfei and the others knew about this. Lu Kuan shook his head and flew towards the center of the valley. At the same time, he used his divine sense to look around. The Sword Valley was very spacious, and there were only some scattered plants growing on the walls. They were covered in a powerful restriction halo, which should be the herbs that the Heavenly Sword Sect had planted in the Sword Valley. In addition, there were only sword marks of various sizes left in the Sword Valley. The sharpness that filled the valley was emitted from these marks. The restriction that enveloped the entire Sword Valley seemed to be related to the sharpness of the sword here. It was similar to the demonic chi restriction in the Spirit Demon Valley. As for the place where they came in, it should be the only gap in the restriction that was covered by the Heavenly Sword Sect. Yu Longfei looked at Lu Kuan, who was looking around, and smiled. Our sect's Sword Valley is very simple and crude. Master Lu, please excuse us. Lu Kuan landed on the ground and shook his head. Fellow Yu is too modest. This place is filled with a dense sharpness. I'm afraid it's very beneficial for sword cultivators. The Heavenly Sword Sect has always stayed in Song Province because of the Sword Valley. Yu Longfei nodded. That's right. However, the Song Province's spirit chi is relatively barren and it's close to the land of death. My Heavenly Sword Sect is barely able to keep this foundation. Lu Kuan enticed. If the Heavenly Sword Sect had more resources, the speed of development would definitely be very different. Yu Longfei laughed. After chatting for so long, we almost forgot about the proper business. Master Lu, let's begin. Lu Kuan raised his eyebrows and said, just comparing notes is a bit boring. How about we add some stakes and make a bet? Bet? Lu Kuan said. Lu heard that the Heavenly Sword Sex cultivation method is very unique. The condensed sword core will contain sword intent in one's mana, greatly increasing one's attack power. If Lu wins by chance, I hope fellow Taoist can teach me the method to condense sword core. If Lu loses, then I can let fellow Taoist you take a look at the body refinement immortal cultivation method to the core formation stage. Hearing this, Yu Longfei's face darkened. Master Lu thinks too highly of his own body refinement immortal cultivation method. The method to condense sword core was perfected by our sect's countless generations of seniors. How can it be casually used as a wager? Lu Kuan sighed. Lu has been rude. Then let's begin. Yu Longfei's face was solemn. A sword light flashed and a large brass sword appeared in front of him. It was different from normal long swords. This sword was about 5 feet long and 1 foot wide. It was extremely huge. This sword was called the Heavenly Fault Sword. It was passed down to him by the previous Heavenly Sword Sex Grand Elder through a secret technique. After being refined by 2 generations of nascent soul stage cultivators, it finally reached the level of maturity. Other than its shocking power, it was also full of spirituality. Previously, the Heavenly Fault Sword let out a sword cry as a warning because it sensed an even stronger magic treasure. Yu Longfei was wary of Lu Kuan. It was not only because of Lu Kuan's other divine abilities, but also because this person had a magic treasure that was even stronger than the Heavenly Fault Sword. Yu Longfei's hands quickly formed hand seals. Waves of golden sword chi surged out from the Heavenly Fault Sword and attached to the surface of the large sword. In a few breaths' time, the Heavenly Fault Sword was enveloped by a thick layer of golden light. It turned into a large golden sword that was more than 3 feet long. A terrifying pressure spread out. Lu Kuan revealed a shocked expression. The power released by this attack was much stronger than 2 Tianqings. The power of the nascent soul stage contained within was extremely sharp. Even though he was dozens of feet away, he could feel the heart-palpitating bone-piercing intent. When Yu Longfei saw Lu Kuan crossing his arms in front of his chest and sizing up the Heavenly Fault Sword without summoning his magic treasure, an undetectable strange color flashed across the depths of his eyes. He waved his hand. The large golden sword brought along a rolling whistling sound as it shot forward. Its speed was not any slower than an ordinary magic sword. It blasted towards Lu Kuan's seemingly tiny body. Buzz, a dull vibrating sound was heard. Yu Longfei could not help but widen his eyes. Dugu Feng, who was watching the battle, was also stunned. Lu Kuan's entire body was covered by a layer of silver light film. His relatively tiny hands were tightly holding onto the tip of the large golden sword. His hands looked a little blurry and seemed to be vibrating at an extremely fast speed. Yu Longfei felt that the large golden sword was blocked by a tyrannical force and was unable to move forward. The golden sword chi outside was also affected by an inexplicable vibrating force, as if it was about to fall apart. The owner of the body refining pavilion actually used his palms to withstand the terrifying attack of a mid-stage nascent soul stage cultivator. His palms were also vibrating with a strange power that wanted to disperse the large golden sword. Yu Longfei's eyes flashed with astonishment. Impossible. Even a level 9 demon cultivator would not dare to take this attack head-on. The silver film on his palms is extremely dazzling. I understand now. He condensed the terrifying defense of the silver film to block this attack. The silver film on the other parts of his body must be weak. Yu Longfei's mind moved. The large golden sword suddenly turned into nearly 100 golden sword chi and blasted towards Lu Kuan's body from all directions. His large sword technique contained 2 layers of magical powers. First, he condensed the sword chi on the Heavenly Fault Sword and turned it into a large golden sword, greatly increasing its attack power. During the duration of the large sword technique, The sword chi would absorb the Dharma treasure power of the heavenly fault sword and could be used unexpectedly. Every sword chi contained a trace of nascent soul stage power and Dharma treasure power. No mid-stage nascent soul stage Dharma power shield could withstand the bombardment of hundreds of terrifying sword lights. As expected, in just 2 breaths of time, the silver membrane outside Lu Kuan's body was shattered by the golden sword chi that filled the sky. At the same time, the heavenly fault sword's treasure light shone brightly and fiercely smashed towards Lu Kuan's head. Yu Longfei's eyes were cold. Spar? Bet? What a joke! Life and death in a battle often happened in an instant, especially in a battle between nascent soul stage cultivators. Facing him, the #1 sword cultivator in Wei Nation, this guy did not use his Dharma treasure. He could not blame others if he was killed accidentally. Within the restrictions of the Valley of Swords, the nascent soul could not escape. As long as Yu Longfei searched the nascent soul's soul, he would be able to easily obtain any body-tempering immortal cultivation technique or information about Old Devil Pang and Old Devil Sure. Chapter 885. Slap. A crisp slap sound made Yu Longfei come back to his senses. The golden sword chi that filled the sky dissipated, revealing Lu Kuan's figure. His robe was already in tatters, and dozens of sword marks crisscrossed his incomparably sturdy muscles. Only a little bit of his flesh had been cut open. He put his palms together. His palms, which were not covered by the silver light membrane, were mixed with a suffocating brute force. Like an iron hoop, he firmly pressed the tip of the heavenly fault sword. The thick and broad sword was shaking violently. The extremely sharp light on the surface of the sword actually couldn't do anything to this pair of ordinary hands. The tip of the sword was only a foot away from Lu Kuan's head, but this distance was like a natural moat unreachable. Yu Longfei was dumbfounded, as if he could not believe his own divine sense. After the 100 golden sword chi broke the silver light membrane, it could not even touch the opponent's bones. This was simply unimaginable. How could the body of an immortal cultivator be so strong to such a realm? His eyes flashed with disbelief. The power of the nascent soul in his body surged. The heavenly fault sword shone brightly, and a golden sword chi shot out from the tip of the sword. Clang, the crisp sound of metal clashing reverberated. The sword chi directly blasted the space between Lu Kuan's eyebrows. However, at such a close distance, the powerful sword chi only pierced a small part of his scalp, revealing the dense skull inside. Then, it helplessly dissipated. Yu Longfei's lips were dry. Could this be the strength of a body-refining, immortal cultivator? Perhaps only some 9th-grade demonic beasts that focused on defense could have such a defense. At this moment, Lu Kuan swung his hands and forcefully threw the heavenly fault sword back. He casually shook his body, and a majestic power of chi and blood soared into the sky. The wounds on his body healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. In 1 or 2 breaths, he was restored to his original state. Other than the tattered robe, it was as if he did not suffer any attack. Indestructible body. Yu Longfei and Dugufeng sucked in a breath of cold air. With such a terrifying defensive power and the indestructible body, only an attack that far exceeded its defensive power could kill it in one go. Yu Longfei looked at the heavenly fault sword in front of him and looked a little embarrassed. His series of attacks just now seemed like he was trying to kill his opponent. What should he do next? Should he join forces with Dugufeng and use his trump card to destroy the other party? Or should he shamelessly apologize? Lu Kuan looked at Yu Longfei's flickering eyes and sneered in his heart. He had long expected that this person would find an opportunity to be ruthless. But so what? With the terrifying defense of the bone transformation stage, even the 9-stage thunder tribulation couldn't take his life, let alone a middle nascent soul stage sword cultivator. One of his goals in coming to the Heavenly Sword sect was to find Yu Longfei to spar and try out several ways to use his physical body's source strength. Yu Longfei was a middle nascent soul stage sword cultivator and was suitable for him to practice. At the heavenly sword peak, the vortex he used to block the golden sword chi was one of the ways he came up with to use source strength. Only the source strength field within 3 feet of his body could be completely controlled by him. Under careful control, it formed a unique force field vortex. In addition to the powerful suction force, the center of the vortex was filled with a terrifying stirring force. Any attack that was sucked in would be forcefully crushed by the vortex's brute force. This source strength vortex could be said to have changed the manifestation of the physical body's power. Not long ago, when facing the golden sword formed purely from sword chi, he gathered the source strength field on his palms, forming a dense force field layer. Through the high-speed vibration of his palms and force field, he transformed the terrifying power of 800,000 pounds into a vibration force and transmitted it out. If Yu Longfei hadn't transformed the golden sword into sword chi, the golden sword would have been shattered by him in a moment. This kind of vibration attack from the palms was different from the force field vortex. It transformed brute force into vibration force. With his physical body's source strength, the enormous power of his body could be transformed into various forms of unique attacks, making his fighting style more diverse. These 2 moves were just his own creation, and there was still a lot of room for improvement. If perfected to the extreme, each of them could become a unique ability. In other words, they could form a systematic system, a combat skill unique to body cultivators. Lu Kuan's mind flashed with all kinds of conjectures as he seemingly said casually, after a simple exchange, Fellow Yu has also tested the strength of the body refinement art. I don't know if Fellow Yu has changed his mind about our previous bet. As long as Fellow Yu can severely injure Lu and make him lose the ability to fight, it'll be my loss. When Yu Longfei heard this, he squeezed out a smile and said, I knew that Master Lu's physical defense was astonishing. When I tested it just now, it was indeed extraordinary. Such a powerful cultivation technique is definitely more valuable than my sex sword arts. I accept the bet. Lu Kuan smiled and said meaningfully, That's right, Lu is proficient in the soul-locking secret technique. Soul-searching won't work. Yu Longfei was silent for a moment, then slowly said, Master Lu, I'm going to make my move. Looking at the motionless Lu Kuan, he somewhat understood. The owner of the Body Refinement Pavilion wanted to display the defensive power of a great cultivator. In this way, even if he couldn't kill old Devil he could still entangle him. When he thought of this, Yu Longfei no longer hesitated. The power of the nascent soul in his body quickly surged and his mouth muttered, as if he was activating some kind of secret technique. The enormous consciousness of a mid-nascent soul stage also trembled with a strange amplitude. The aimless sharp intent in the surroundings trembled slightly, as if it was attracted by something, and poured into Yu Longfei's body. The latter's face twisted, as if he was enduring great pain. At this moment, the heavenly fault sword floating in front of Yu Longfei suddenly cracked. Accompanied by the crisp sound of the sword, it split into 6 small bronze swords with astonishing spiritual light. Lu Kuan revealed a look of surprise. This broad and thick sword was actually the same as Qin Yushu's 5-feathered universe saber. It was a set of magic treasures. When the 6 pieces were mounted together, they would form a broad and thick sword. When they were separated, they would form a set of magic treasures. Yu Longfei's expression became more and more painful. Cold sweat appeared on his face. As he muttered the incantation, his hands rapidly formed a mysterious sword art. The small bronze swords in front of him trembled and split into 2, 2 into 4, 4 into 8. The 6 small swords actually turned from tangible to intangible. In the blink of an eye, they split into 96 tiny sword threads. Each sword thread seemed to be formed by the compression of sword chi. They emitted a dazzling golden light, and a unique fluctuation spread out. Lu Kuan's expression changed. He suddenly felt that the dense heaven-earth essence chi in the Valley of Swords began to converge towards these sword threads. A faint halo gradually appeared outside the sword threads. A suffocating pressure spread out from these 96 sword threads. Dugufeng, who was watching the battle, had no choice but to retreat a few hundred feet. In Lu Kuan's perception, this attack was not inferior to the power of the seventh lightning tribulation. It was a pure metal attribute attack, and the damage it caused to him was definitely much stronger than the lightning tribulation. No wonder Yu Longfei chose to stay in the Valley of Swords. He actually had a secret technique that could borrow the sharpness of the Valley of Swords. In addition to a powerful set of magic treasures, he was able to display the power of a grand cultivator. The power of the nascent soul in Yu Longfei's body was being consumed rapidly. He formed a sword with his fingers, and the terrifying sword threads that filled the sky turned into a dense sword rain that shot towards Lu Kuan's body. In the face of such a terrifying attack, Lu Kuan did not show the slightest trace of fear. Instead, a trace of madness flashed through his eyes. He clenched his fists and raised them above his head. The 3 feet of source force field around him began to distort crazily. This invisible force field revolved around his body, forming a huge vortex outside his body. An incomparably powerful suction force was emitted. The 96 sword threads that were originally attacking Lu Kuan's body were twisted by this strange suction force, forcibly changing the direction of their attack. Like a golden whirlwind, they revolved around Lu Kuan's body. At the same time, Lu Kuan's fist was wrapped in a layer of silver light, and an arc-shaped force field appeared around his fist. If the force field outside his body was a huge vortex, then his fist was the core of this vortex. The whirlwind formed by the golden sword threads quickly surged towards his fists under the huge suction force. For a moment, the golden light was incomparably dazzling. Lu Kuan's expression was ferocious. In order to control such a complicated source force field, the demonic energy in his body was circulated to the extreme. The light of the bone treasures could no longer be suppressed. The light of the 206 matured treasures soared into the sky, emitting an astonishing pressure. His figure flashed, and his fists shot forward with the golden whirlwind. Yu Longfei's face was incomparably pale. He could not imagine that Lu Kuan could not only block the attack of a great cultivator, but also counterattack. Not to mention the terrifying pressure of the golden fists, the aura of the 200 treasures that covered the sky and covered the earth scared him silly. He was currently in the weakened state of casting technique. In the face of Lu Kuan's astonishing speed, he barely managed to summon a dark golden shield in front of him. Then, the pair of golden whirlwind fists collided with it. The spiritual light of this defensive spiritual treasure was almost instantly shattered, and it was easily sent flying. Yu Longfei revealed a look of despair. But at this moment, the golden whirlwind fists trembled slightly and changed direction, brushing past Yu Longfei. But even the remaining power of the fists almost shattered his magic power shield, and fiercely sent Yu Longfei flying. Boom. A terrifying earth-shattering sound was heard. The entire valley seemed to be about to collapse, and the earth quaked and the mountains shook. A huge pit of more than 500 feet appeared on the hard ground that had been tempered by the sharp intent for many years. A large amount of dense cloud-like spiritual chi, with the pit as the core, turned into terrifying waves that spread out in all directions. They collided with the restrictions at the edge, and a huge rumbling echo was heard. The dust dispersed, and Lu Kuan's body appeared in the pit. At this time, his body was covered with sword wounds, and almost all of them were deep to the bone. His hands were also pale white. 6 small bronze swords were stabbed into the ground in a crooked manner, and the spiritual light was incomparably dim. Chapter 886. Yu Longfei's eyes were still filled with fear. It was as if he had walked on the edge of life and death. If his opponent had not held back and changed the direction of his attack, his nascent soul might not have been able to escape. What he had just used was a secret technique passed down from generation to generation in the Heavenly Sword clan. It could temporarily add the sharpness of the Sword Valley to the nascent soul. This way, when the nascent soul attacked, it would be able to absorb the heaven and earth yuan qi, greatly increasing the magical power. With Yu Longfei's mid-nascent soul stage magical power and the support of the heaven and earth yuan qi, his strength directly approached that of a grand cultivator. Then, after he used the 10,000 swords returned to one divine ability of the heavenly fault sword, the power of his attack was further enhanced. Yu Longfei believed that the power of his attack was definitely not inferior to any grand cultivator's magical power. However, such a terrifying attack was not able to do anything to the owner of the body refining pavilion. Instead, it was forcefully absorbed by his strange magical power, binding his 10,000 swords returned to one divine ability to the fist of his physical body. The power of the attack that contained the heaven and earth yuan qi, coupled with the opponent's terrifying physical strength, was extremely terrifying. It easily knocked away his defensive magic treasure and shattered his defensive barrier. The astonishing treasure light that was emitted from Lu Kuan's body also made him understand why the heavenly fault sword had issued a warning. This person actually had more than 200 mature magic treasures in his body. How did he nurture so many magic treasures? It was simply unheard of. Could it be that these mature magic treasures were the true heritage left behind by the Yang clan? However, why did he not use them to attack during the battle? Even at the last moment, he only emitted a large amount of treasure light. Could it be that he used the power of the magic treasures to add to the defensive power of his physical body? Just as Yu Longfei's thoughts were racing, the deep wounds on Lu Kuan's body that were so deep that the bones could be seen squirmed rapidly. The flesh inside was stitched up like cloth, and muscle fibers appeared on the bony hand. Du Gufeng hurriedly flew in front of Yu Longfei. His expression was as if he was facing a great enemy. He stared fixedly at Lu Kuan, and the 3 green swords circled in front of him. Lu Kuan chuckled. With a wave of his hand, the 6 flying swords around him were suspended in the air by an invisible force. He then used his divine sense to examine them one by one. When Yu Longfei saw this scene, he hesitated for a moment and did not move. He allowed Lu Kuan to control his intrinsic dermic sword as he took out several recovery pills and swallowed them. After a while, his complexion gradually became rosy, and he slowly said, "Many thanks to Master Lu for showing mercy. This Yu admits defeat." When Lu Kuan heard this, he gently waved his hand and the 6 small bronze swords were tossed to Yu Longfei. The latter withdrew his hand seal, and the set of swords combined into a broad sword light, which entered Yu Longfei's body. Then, the air around Lu Kuan's legs twisted and a shadow flashed past. The burly figure appeared in front of the 2 nascent soul stage sword cultivators of the Heavenly Sword sect. The pressure of a ferocious beast rushed towards them. Du Gufeng's expression was extremely frightened. He did not expect Lu Kuan to have such terrifying speed. The bracelet on his hands lit up with a yellow halo, which instantly enveloped him and Yu Longfei. The 3 green swords trembled slightly and turned into green sword light that entered the defensive halo. When Yu Longfei saw Du Gufeng's series of actions, he revealed a trace of a bitter smile and said, "Shitty, if Master Lu wanted to harm us, he would have killed me just now. Put it away." Du Gufeng hesitated for a moment, then looked at Lu Kuan in front of him and withdrew his defensive spell. The green longsword magic treasure also turned into sword light that entered his body. However, he and Yu Longfei's own mana shield did not withdraw. Lu Kuan looked at Du Gufeng's magic treasure that could turn into sword light and clicked his tongue. The Heavenly Sword sect's sword refining technique is indeed unique. It has greatly opened Lu's eyes. Since Taoist Yu has admitted defeat, then what about your sect's sword core formation technique? Yu Longfei sighed softly and said, "This technique is the sect's core technique. I admit defeat and can give it to Master Lu, but I hope that Taoist you will not pass it on to others. Lu Kuan said seriously, rest assured, Taoist you. Lu is only using it as a reference. He wants to integrate its essence into his body refining technique. Even if he passes it on to the disciples of the body refining pavilion, it will already be completely different from your sex technique. Yu Longfei nodded lightly. He had already expected this. From this body refining pavilion master's abilities, the body refining art was definitely an incomparably powerful technique. How could he cultivate the heavenly sword sex sword arts? He said, then I will pass it on to Master Lu through my consciousness. Lu Kuan smiled and said, since Taoist Yu has agreed, there is no need to rush. After the exchange just now, I wonder what Taoist Yu's judgment of Lu's strength is. Yu Longfei saw that Lu Kuan's body had completely recovered in just a few sentences. Even the flesh on his hands had been regenerated. The corner of his mouth twitched and he said, this is the first time I have seen Taoist use physical body technique. With Master Lu's physical defense and indestructible body technique, coupled with his terrifying speed, I believe that Master Lu can completely entangle Shi Jingtian. He paused for a moment before continuing, in this battle, Pavilion Master Lu was on the defensive the entire time. Only in the end did you use my 10,000 swords as one to counterattack. However, I believe that Pavilion Master Lu's physical attack power is no weaker than any mid-nascent soul stage cultivator. Lu Kuan smirked and asked, Taoist Yu, if the two of us work together, what kind of battle strength do you think we can display? Yu Longfei was taken aback. Then, his expression became a little excited. The Heavenly Sword sect had many top-notch sword techniques and even powerful sword formations. However, these techniques took a long time to cast. In a battle between nascent soul stage cultivators, they were almost never used. Lu Kuan's defense was not only amazing, but his explosive speed was probably faster than a peak nascent soul stage cultivator. With such a person protecting him, Yu Longfei would have enough time and opportunity to display his powerful sword technique. That's right, he could even use his powerful sword techniques on Lu Kuan to increase his attack power. If the two of them worked together, their strength would definitely not be as simple as 1+1. On the side, Dugu Feng also revealed an excited expression. If he worked together with the owner of the body refining pavilion, he could even easily display a sword technique above the mid-nascent soul stage. Lu Kuan looked at the two's expressions and said meaningfully, if the body cultivator disciples of the body refining pavilion and the sword cultivator of the heavenly sword sect work together, what would happen? Yu Longfei and Dugu Feng's expressions changed completely. Judging from the abilities of the owner of the body refining pavilion, the disciples of the body refining pavilion would definitely have astonishing defense and speed. If a sword cultivator and a body cultivator of the same level work together, they would probably be able to kill an enemy 2 levels above them. An early foundation establishment stage cultivator could deal with a late foundation establishment stage cultivator, and an early core formation stage cultivator could deal with a late core formation stage cultivator. The benefits of this in a battle between two sects were self-evident. Yu Longfei let out a deep breath and said, I finally understand why Master Lu came to my heavenly sword sect. Sword cultivators have powerful attack power and body cultivators have astonishing defense power. If the two sects work together, their strength would more than double. I just don't know how many disciples the body refining pavilion has. Lu Kuan laughed loudly and said, since Taoist Yu has thought of this, then we can continue to discuss in detail. This is not the place for discussion. Yu Longfei cupped his hands and said, Master Lu, please follow me back to the Heavenly Sword Peak. My sect has a few unique wines that I would like to invite Master Lu to have a taste. Then I'll have to trouble the two of you. Afterwards, the two nascent soul stage sword cultivators of the Heavenly Sword sect led Lu Kuan towards the sky of the Valley of Swords. During the spar just now, Yu Longfei tried to kill his opponent ruthlessly. In the end, Lu Kuan spared his life. This result made Yu Longfei feel extremely uneasy. Even if it was extremely difficult to deal with the miraculous gate, he had to accept it. Otherwise, if he angered such a terrifying expert, he and Dugufeng would probably be killed on the spot. First, he set a small goal. For example, 1 second. Remember, book guest residence. Chapter 887. In a pavilion at the top of the Sky Sword Peak, Lu Kuan held a small wine cup in his hand. There was a light green liquid in the cup, and a rich wine aroma wafted out. At the same time, there was a faintly discernible sharp aura. Lu Kuan smacked his lips and said, "Fellow Taoist Yu's green essence sword wine is truly extraordinary. In addition to the mellow taste, there is also a sharp aura circulating throughout the body. I'm afraid it's very precious to sword cultivators." Yu Longfei looked at the second cup of wine in Lu Kuan's hand and said with some heartache, "Master Lu, my green essence sword wine uses herbs unique to the Valley of Swords and fuses a trace of sharpness into it. It can refine a core formation sword cultivator's sword intent. It's a pity that the sharpness of the wine is such that only late core formation realm sword cultivators can barely take a sip. Otherwise, their golden core would be damaged. Even junior martial brother Dugu and I can only drink 1 cup a year at most." When Lu Kuan heard this, he revealed an inexplicable heartache and said, "In other words, fellow Taoist Yu's green essence sword wine is equivalent to a top-grade pill for sword cultivators. It's a waste for Lu to drink it. Fellow Taoist, you should change to an ordinary sword origin wine." With that said, Lu Kuan immediately took out a jade bottle. In front of Yu Longfei and Dugufeng, he poured the wine into the bottle and put down the empty cup. Faced with Lu Kuan's bandit behavior, Yu Longfei's mouth twitched. He didn't say anything and quickly put away the wine jug on the stone table and replaced it with an ordinary sword origin wine. Yu Longfei took out the green essence sword wine as a test. Even he could only drink a small sip a year. Otherwise, his meridians would be damaged. He had just used a secret technique in the Valley of Swords, so he wouldn't be able to drink the green essence sword wine for the next 10 years. Lu Kuan wasn't a sword cultivator, but he could casually drink an entire cup. One could imagine how tough his meridians were. If Yu Longfei's meridians were as tough as his, then he could use the secret technique in the sect and try to break through to the late nascent soul stage. Yu Longfei thought and poured a cup of sword origin wine for the 3 of them. "I don't know if Master Lu knows the strength of the miraculous gate. It won't be easy for us to deal with them." Lu took a sip of the wine. "Of the miraculous gate's understanding of the miraculous gate, but I saw Shi Jingtian's injuries. With my own eyes I've seen the miraculous gate." Yu Longfei nodded and said, "Before Master Lu came to visit, junior brother Dugu and I were discussing the miraculous gate. Why don't you introduce it to Master Lu? Then I'll have to trouble you, Taoist Dugu." Dugufeng sorted out his thoughts and said, "Since the miraculous gate took over the entire Lu state, its strength has increased rapidly. It has been split into 2 major sections. The Devil sect specializes in demonic arts and is located in the Yunling Mountains, while the Spirit sect is located in the Yeyang Mountains. The number of nascent soul stage cultivators in the miraculous gate is the highest in Wei state. Other than Old Devil Shi, there are 4 other nascent soul stage cultivators. Yu Lianxing is in charge of the Devil sect and cultivates demonic art. Many years ago, senior brother Yu met this person. It is very likely that he has entered the middle nascent soul stage. Lu Liang is a newly ascended nascent soul stage cultivator after the miraculous gate annihilated the Yeyang clan. He was only 300 years old when he formed his nascent soul. He can be said to be a genius. Dugufeng could not help but look at Lu Kuan. If they were talking about geniuses, this Master Lu was only 200 years old. He even created an unheard-of body-tempering immortal cultivation technique. Compared to him, Lu Liang was like the difference between heaven and earth. He continued, although Lu Liang is very talented, his cultivation in the nascent soul stage is very slow. He is still in the early nascent soul stage. Including Old Devonshire, the three of them are cultivating in the Yunling Mountains. The remaining two early nascent soul stage cultivators, Fairy Feng and Zhang Lengfeng, are cultivating their mana and guarding the spirit sect. Lu Kuan's expression changed. He suddenly said, "These people can't be cultivating in seclusion all the time, right?" Dugu Feng was stunned. Then, he understood Lu Kuan's meaning. He smiled bitterly and said, "With the abilities of nascent soul stage cultivators, even if they leave, the disciples in the sect will not notice anything. It is very difficult to ambush a nascent soul stage cultivator." Yu Longfei's eyes brightened slightly and said, "Junior, that is not necessarily the case. Master Lu's abilities are very shocking. He can easily enter the Heavenly Sword Peak, and the Miraculous Gate's spirit sect is located in the Yayang Mountains. It is not impossible." Lu Kuan smiled and said, "Lu's technique is very special. Normal restrictions are not effective. That is why he can enter the Heavenly Sword Peak. If the two of you add other high-level restrictions on the Heavenly Sword Peak, I am afraid that Lu will be detected immediately." As for how to deal with the Miraculous Gate's nascent soul stage cultivators, Lu has some ideas. I will discuss it with the two of you later. Now, please tell me about the strength of core formation stage cultivators. Dugufeng drank a mouthful of sword origin wine and continued, "These years, because the Miraculous Gate is very powerful, the core formation stage cultivators have not hidden themselves. There are 22 of them. Among them, there are 4 late core formation stage cultivators. Master Lu should have seen them before." Lu revealed a curious expression and said, "Who are they?" Dugufeng paused and said, "Among the 4, the one with the highest cultivation level is Songli. It is said that because he was a spy in the Shangqing sect, he has been cultivating in seclusion all these years. He might have already reached the peak of the core formation stage. The second one is Li Wan, who infiltrated the Yayang clan. According to our sect's disciples, Li Wan failed to break through to the nascent soul stage. However, due to the special nature of her spiritual body, her cultivation level is barely maintained at the late core formation stage. The third one is Luo Yuechi. When the Luo clan betrayed the Yayang clan, they merged with the Miraculous Gate. Luo Yuechi should have obtained great benefit. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to advance from the early core formation stage to the late core formation stage in just over 100 years. At this point, Dugu Feng's expression became a bit strange. The fourth late core formation stage demonic cultivator is Shin Mengyao of the Miraculous Gate. It is said that this woman has an extreme Yin body. She just advanced to the late core formation stage not long ago. She is the core formation stage cultivator with the most potential in the Miraculous Gate. As Dugu Feng spoke, he observed Lu Kuan's expression. He once heard from his disciples that Lu Kuan of the Yayang clan's weapon refining peak seemed to have some kind of special relationship with Shin Mengyao. Lu Kuan's expression didn't change. He poured himself another cup of sword source wine and said, "It should be said that there are 3 late core formation stage cultivators. Lu met Song Li many years ago in the state of Qi and killed him. So, it seems that our core formation stage cultivators combined shouldn't be weaker than the Miraculous Gate." Yu Longfei didn't know about the rumors about Lu Kuan and Shin Mengyao. He said with interest, "I wonder how many core formation stage body cultivators there are in the body refining pavilion." Lu Kuan drank the wine in his cup and said, "Although there are only 3 core formation stage body cultivators in the body refining pavilion, in terms of combat power, they are not weaker than those in the middle core formation stage. Lu also has 3 disciples who are in the great circle of the foundation building stage. They will try to make a breakthrough in the next few years. Yulong Fei and Dugufeng were surprised. The Body Refining Pavilion was a new sect that should have only been established for about 100 years. Apart from Lu Kuan, who was a nascent soul stage cultivator, it actually had several core formation stage cultivators. Obviously, it was developing very smoothly. Lu Kuan continued, apart from the Body Refining Pavilion, the Treasure Pavilion, which inherited the traditions of the Yang clan, also has 4 core formation stage cultivators. No, it should be 5. One of them even formed his gold core using the ancient method of condensing his gold core. He is a powerful cultivator at the peak of the middle core formation stage. He suddenly remembered that old demon Pang had already released Zhu Siming. Perhaps this powerful master of the crafting peak had already met up with Qin Yushu and the others. Yulong Fei's eyes flashed with surprise. Our sect has 15 core formation stage sword cultivators. Together with Master Lu's men, we are already on par with the miraculous gate. If the core formation stage body cultivators and sword cultivators work together with the Green Alliance, as long as we suppress the miraculous gate's nascent soul stage cultivators, we might actually have a chance to eliminate them. Lu Kuan's lips curled into a cold smile. Fellow Taoist you are wrong. We do not need the Green Alliance's help. Yulong Fei seemed to have thought of something. His expression changed slightly. Master Lu, you mean? Lu Kuan's voice was incomparably cold. Fellow Taoist don't you think this is a good opportunity to reshuffle the cards? Without the Green Alliance and the Demon Spirit sect, each of our sects would have more resources than the Shangqing sect in the past. Hearing this, Yulong Fei's heart turned cold. Then, he saw a light flash in Lu Kuan's hand. A black stone the size of a watermelon appeared. There was an indescribable aura surrounding it. Yulong Fei's eyes narrowed as he probed it with his divine sense. Is this the seed stone of the Oath Stone, or is it a blank restriction? Lu Kuan nodded. That's right. If the time limit is controlled within 100 years, this seed stone can form a contract restriction with many conditions. With this, fellow Taoist, you should feel assured to form an alliance with us. Yulong Fei drank a mouthful of sword origin wine. His expression relaxed a lot. He was indeed worried that Master Lu would use the miraculous gate as an excuse to attack the Heavenly Sword sect. After all, in terms of strength, even if he and Dugufeng teamed up, they would not be a match for Master Lu. If they used the seed stone of the Oath Stone to form an alliance, he would feel much more at ease. The restriction of such a strange treasure was difficult to violate even for soul formation stage cultivators. Chapter 888. Lu Kuan looked at Yulong Fei's relaxed expression and his eyes flashed with an imperceptible coldness. He smiled and said, Fellow Taoist with the addition of the treasured tool pavilion, Lu can't make the decision for them. Therefore, this alliance contract will be signed when Lu brings them here. Yulong Fei curiously asked, Master Lu, I wonder how much of the treasured tool pavilion inherited from the Yang clan's refining techniques? Lu Kuan mysteriously smiled and a light flashed in his hand. A dark purple staff and a black armor appeared, exuding an amazing light. He said, These were made by Lu and the treasured tool pavilion. Please evaluate them. Yulong Fei and Dugufeng felt the strong aura of the magic treasures and used their divine sense to examine them. They were both surprised. These are spiritual magic treasures? The treasured tool pavilion can actually refine spiritual magic treasures. Even the people from the tool refining peak found it difficult to refine them. That's right. These are spiritual magic treasures for attack and defense, Lu Kuan admitted. He looked at the purple firmament staff and black spirit armor and felt that it was a pity. With the tyrannical demonic energy, these carefully refined spiritual magic treasures couldn't be used. He had to quickly research how to refine bone transformation weapons. If he had a weapon that could withstand demonic energy, Lu Kuan's strength could be further improved and he would be more confident in dealing with Shi Jingtian. As the thought flashed through his mind, Lu Kuan waved his hand and put away the magic treasures. The battle between sects is inevitable. The matter of refining the battleships will be handed over to the treasured tool pavilion. Yu Longfei and Dugu Feng looked at each other in disbelief. Could it be that the disciples that left the Yeyang clan were all top refining geniuses? Or did the Yeyang clan have a new refining technique? Lu Kuan continued, since fellow Taoist you has no objection to the alliance, then I, Lu, will bring my fellow disciples to visit you next time and discuss how to deal with the miraculous gate together. Yu Longfei nodded gently and raised his wine cup. The three of them drained it in one gulp and reached a preliminary consensus. After pouring the wine to the brim, Yu Longfei suddenly said, "That's right, Master Lu, please release your consciousness. I will teach you the method of condensing a sword core." Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with a hint of curiosity. The huge spiritual sense of the middle stage of the nascent soul stage came out of his body and converged with Yu Longfei in the pavilion. On the side, Dugu Feng silently drank the wine in his cup. His mind was filled with thousands of thoughts. With the appearance of a powerful cultivator like Lu Kuan and a sect like the Body Refining Pavilion, he didn't know how the Heavenly Sword sect would interact with each other in the future. He didn't know why, but he had a faint premonition that Lu Kuan, a top genius with the demeanor of a sect founder, must have great ambitions. After this person left, he had to have a good discussion with senior brother Yu. After a quarter of an hour, the two tyrannical spiritual senses slowly dissipated. Lu Kuan revealed a surprised expression and said, "The Heavenly Sword sect's techniques are indeed unique. They can actually condense a golden core with such an unimaginable method and generate a sword intent. And with a sword intent, a core formation stage sword cultivator can summon sword chi. Together with a sword-type magical weapon, they can display all kinds of powerful sword technique. If Lu didn't guess wrongly, this sword intent is equivalent to a mutated element. It has refined the sharpness of the metal element to the extreme. The sword intent is probably not inferior to any other element." Yu Longfei's eyes flashed with a hint of pride. "That's right. That's why all the disciples of the Heavenly Sword sect have metal element spiritual root. The foundation establishment stage is the process of sword cultivators refining their metal element spiritual energy. The higher the spiritual energy, the sharper and purer the metal element. And when they reach the great circle of foundation establishment, other than being able to condense a golden core, they also meet the requirements to condense a sword intent imprint." Lu Kuan revealed a surprised expression and said, "Condensing a golden core requires both crystallizing spiritual energy and condensing a sword intent imprint at the same time. The difficulty is much higher than normal core formation stage technique. And yet, the Heavenly Sword sect has 15 core formation stage sword cultivators. It's really unbelievable." Yu Longfei smiled and said, "The Heavenly Sword sect specializes in the way of the sword. It has been passed down for many years. Other than the experiences of many seniors in the core formation stage, there are also supplementary techniques. Moreover, the strength of the Heavenly Sword sect now is probably the most prosperous in thousands of years." Lu Kuan's expression changed and said, "I wonder what supplementary techniques the Heavenly Sword sect has. Can you let Lu learn?" Yu Longfei said, "Actually, all the immortal cultivation sects in the Wei Nation know that our sect's disciples use the same sword from the Qi refinement stage to the great circle of foundation establishment. Even if we enter the core formation stage to refine a magical weapon, we still need to integrate the original sword into it." Lu Kuan said thoughtfully, "Could it be that we use the special characteristics of the magical weapon to assist sword cultivators in condensing a sword intent imprint?" Yu Longfei nodded and said, "That's right. Our sect has a sword nurturing technique that uses the sharp aura of the magical sword to assist in condensing a sword intent imprint." At this point, Yu Longfei revealed a look of yearning and said, "It is said that in ancient times, there were genius sword cultivators who were proficient in the sword nurturing technique. They were able to comprehend the profundity of sword intent at the beginning of the foundation establishment stage. They were able to condense a sword intent imprint in their dantian and cultivate the mana of sword intent. As their cultivation level increased, the sword intent of these genius sword cultivators became more and more powerful. They could even kill core formation stage cultivators in the later stages of the foundation establishment stage. Their attack power was terrifying." Lu Kuan asked curiously, "Comprehending sword intent at the foundation establishment stage and forming a sword intent imprint should be of great help in condensing a sword core." Yu Longfei said with some emotion, "It's not just a little help. Normally, sword intent is a high-level attribute that will only appear when condensing a sword core. If one comprehended sword intent at the foundation establishment stage, then they can completely use sword intent to guide the crystallization of mana and greatly increase the chances of condensing a sword core." When Lu Kuan heard this, he raised his wine cup and said, "I won't hide it from fellow Taoist Yu. The reason why Lu asked fellow Taoist Yu for this sword core condensation technique is actually to help a disciple break through to the core formation stage." Yu Longfei and Lu Kuan clinked their wine cups and asked curiously, "Master Lu means to increase the chances of breaking through by condensing a sword intent imprint into a sword core? But this method is only useful for condensing a sword core. Could it be that Master Lu's disciple doesn't cultivate body refining techniques but condenses a sword core?" Lu Kuan deduced the sword core condensation technique in his mind and slowly said, "Although it's not condensing a sword core, it's somewhat similar. I heard that the Valley of Swords can help the disciples of the Heavenly Sword Gate comprehend sword intent. I wonder if fellow Taoist you can give Lu's disciple the opportunity to enter the Valley of Swords." Yu Longfei was slightly surprised and took a sip of sword origin wine. He said, "Arranging for a person to enter the Valley of Swords is simple for me. However, it will have to be 5 years later. That's when the sharpness of the Valley of Swords will be at its lowest." Lu Kuan thought for a moment and understood. Although the sharpness of the Valley of Swords didn't actively attack, even his mid-nascent soul stage spiritual sense felt a bit of stinging pain. Perhaps cultivators below the core formation stage would find it difficult to bear. He raised his wine cup and said, "Then I thank fellow Taoist Yu." Yu Longfei returned the toast and said, "You're too polite. However, when it comes to cultivation, I also have a matter that I would like to ask Master Lu." Lu Kuan put down his wine cup and said with a bitter smile, "Lu's cultivation method is different from normal cultivators. I'm afraid he won't be able to give me any inspiration." Yu Longfei filled both of their wine cups and shook his head. He said, "The problem I ask is related to the physical body. I'm afraid only Master Lu has a solution." Lu Kuan was somewhat curious and said, "If that's the case, fellow Taoist you might as well tell me." Yu Longfei rubbed his wine cup and said slowly, "Master Lu also knows that sword intent exerts the metal element to the extreme. It's a strange kind of incomparably sharp magic power. In the process of cultivation, sword intent exerts great pressure and damage on the meridians. Sword cultivators often have no choice but to slow down their cultivation speed because of the nourishment of the meridians. The nourishment of the meridians is extremely slow. If one wants to speed up their cultivation, they have to take all kinds of special pills to strengthen the meridians. However, as one's cultivation increases, high-grade pills become rarer and their effects greatly decrease." Yu Longfei paused and said with a serious expression, "I would like to ask Master Lu if there are any methods of strengthening the meridians in the body cultivation method. If there are, I'm willing to exchange any secret techniques of the Heavenly Rapier sect." Lu Kuan revealed a look of understanding. He knew that the Heavenly Rapier sect was extremely thirsty for drugs that strengthen the meridians. Back then, they even used the earth fruit to deceive Foundation establishment sword cultivators. Thinking of this, Lu Kuan revealed a pleasant smile. Fellow Taoist Yu, can you describe the requirements of the meridians in each realm of sword cultivation? After Lu understands clearly, he can judge whether the body cultivation method is helpful. Hearing this, Yu Longfei and Dugu Feng both became spirited and began to describe in detail. Chapter 889. Speaking of which, recently, many readers have seen the latest chapters. I need to pay attention to the matter of the stable update. Although work is very busy as a single dog, I still have some time on the weekend. Thus, I intend to increase my efficiency while ensuring the quality of the chapters. I set a small goal for updating. From today onwards, I will update 10 chapters every week. If I don't update enough during the weekdays, I will make up for it during the weekends. Yep, if this small goal is stable, I can try to break through the bottleneck of the second update beast. As for the rules for updating more chapters, I have looked at the other book. The Guild Master has to update more chapters. If I update more chapters, it means that I have to take a leave of absence. If I take a leave of absence, I should be able to update twice. Yep, then I will be the Guild Master and update twice. Speaking of Guild Master, I think of Adept. Adept still owes me 17 chapters. How pitiful. He probably won't even play Hearthstone anymore. Haha, oh right, I don't count the rewards I give myself, because I will continue to spend money on the Silver Guild's full-screen advertisements next month. Some of the trolls are very strange. They actually think that the good reviews in the book review section are done by the trolls. I find it strange. Hiring a trolls is not as simple and crude as hiring a trolls. The book review section is filled with honest reviews from the readers. I will only delete the spoilers or impolite ones. Some of the readers don't have any fan point. I understand. When I was in school, I also looked down on the official books. However, I hope that these readers can vote and support the physique cultivator. Returning to the main topic, I will update 10 times a week. The update time is not fixed. First, I will set a small goal. For example, 1 second. Remember, reader's residence. Chapter 890. An ordinary spirit boat was flying in the air above the land of death. Lu Kuan stood at the front, his eyes flashing with a golden light. His palms were sometimes clenched into fists, sometimes open into palms. The air around him was constantly twisting, occasionally emitting explosive sounds. At the back of the spirit boat, Huang Xiaoyun sat cross-legged, one hand pressing down on the flying boat's control rune. He looked at the strange movements of Lu Kuan in front of him and felt the strange pressure around him. Cold sweat dripped down his face. Is Master thinking of how to punish me? Compared to Master, my small body is 2 whole realms lower. I can't withstand his torment. Huang Xiaoyun had arrived at the Heavenly Sword Sect's sphere of influence early on. According to the information he gathered, sword intent seemed to be helpful to his breakthrough. But how sword intent was produced and how the so-called sword core was condensed, he had no idea. Just as Huang Xiaoyun was thinking of how to sneak into the Heavenly Sword Sect, Lu Kuan found him and gave him a harsh scolding. With Huang Xiaoyun's viscera forging stage body, he was unable to use the Bone Treasure Stage Divine Sense Bone Concealment technique. As long as a core formation stage sword cultivator used a bewitching technique, they could make Huang Xiaoyun confess the truth. After a few days, Huang Xiaoyun learned that his master had entered the nascent soul stage. No, it should be the bone transformation stage. His strength was incomparably terrifying. In just 1 or 2 days, he had obtained the sword core method from the Heavenly Sword Sect's nascent soul stage. Bone transformation stage, such a terrifying realm. Master actually made me control the flying boat. Shouldn't he be able to easily wrap me up and fly with a flash of light? Now that he's so troublesome, He's obviously punishing me. Huang Xiaoyun muttered to himself. Then, he sank his mind into comprehending the method of condensing the sword core. Lu Kuan didn't pay attention to Huang Xiaoyun. He constantly adjusted the source force field in his hands. When he first killed Tu Tianqing, Lu Kuan only used his physical body's origin power in two ways. One was to borrow power from the void, and the other was to use long-distance void power. Needless to say, borrowing strength from the void could completely unleash one's physical strength in the void, breaking through the critical point of 400,000. As for void power, it consumed an astonishing amount of mana. The further the distance, the more mana it consumed. A distance of 10 feet was almost 100 times the mana consumption of 10 feet. Other than the huge consumption of demon energy, Lu Kuan could not precisely control the power of the void over a long distance. If he were to face Tu Tianqing's nascent soul again, he could only crush it savagely. The amount of origin energy that he could truly control freely and finely was the passive origin energy field within a 3-foot radius of his body. This 3-foot radius could be said to be his range of close combat. During his battle with Yu Longfei, Lu Kuan discovered that the fine control of the kinetic field made it easier for him to transform his physical strength into various forms and use unique combat skills. In other words, body cultivator's combat skills. Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with a strange light. An invisible vortex appeared within a 3-foot radius of his chest, emitting an indescribable fluctuation. This origin energy vortex was a close combat origin energy field that he could finally control, transforming his physical strength into a spiral-like force field. Other than producing a huge suction force, the convergence point of the power in the depths of the vortex also had a terrifying stirring power. With his 400,000 kilograms of brute force, the origin energy vortex could crush Yu Longfei's middle nascent soul stage golden sword qi and obliterate the power of the nascent soul with an extremely low consumption of demon energy. The invisible vortex in front of his chest slowly dissipated. Lu Kuan stretched out his hands, making his palms face each other with a distance of 3 feet. Then, a semicircular origin energy vortex appeared in each of his palms. The two terrifying suction forces faced each other from afar, forming an invisible sphere that twisted endlessly. The surface of this vortex sphere is filled with an origin energy field. The terrifying brute force did not compress inwards, but rotated around the sphere's surface. The suction force formed a balance. If the nascent soul was locked in the vortex sphere by me, it would neither be able to teleport nor be crushed by the force. Lu Kuan looked at the vortex in his hand and muttered in his heart, "The origin energy vortex can be said to be a combination of defense and control. When transcending the tribulation, if I use the origin energy vortex to weaken the lightning tribulation, the consumption of demon energy will definitely be much smaller. This should be the most basic defensive combat skill." Removing the vortex sphere between his hands, Lu Kuan clenched his fists again. A small origin energy vortex appeared on the surface of his fists, and his eyes revealed a contemplative look. In the battle with Yu Longfei, Lu Kuan first formed a huge vortex with the 3-foot origin energy field outside his body, wrapping it around his body. Using the origin energy vortex theurgy ability, he attracted nearly 100 powerful sword qi. Then, he condensed 2 small origin energy vortexes on his fists as the core of the large vortex. The 3 vortexes combined into one, barely absorbing the sword qi on his fist. Although this powerful attack was absorbed and transferred, Lu Kuan still suffered a lot of damage. The golden sword qi, which contained the world's origin energy, attacked the bone treasure, causing its spirituality to be damaged. As for his fists, they were composed of many finger bones, which was equivalent to an inlaid magic treasure. They were harder than a single bone, which was why they could barely withstand the terrifying golden sword qi and did not break apart. Origin energy transmits physical strength. If my physical strength continues to increase, the power of the origin energy vortex will also increase. Lu Kuan had some understanding in his heart. If he had used the Omniarm Theurgy ability at that time and used the origin energy vortex with a terrifying strength of more than 1,000,000 kilograms, the damage to his physical body would have been reduced by a lot. One origin energy vortex can absorb and weaken energy attack. Two origin energy vortexes can form a unique control theurgy. The combination of 3 origin energy vortexes can absorb and transfer attack. If there were 4 or 5, what kind of theurgy would there be? If the origin energy vortexes were superimposed, what kind of changes would occur in the suction and stirring forces? Thinking of this, Lu Kuan's eyes were filled with yearning. He was still not proficient in controlling origin energy. At most, he could control 3 origin energy vortexes, and superimposing them was impossible. However, Lu Kuan had a premonition that as his understanding of origin energy deepened, the number and power of the origin energy vortexes would definitely increase. After pondering for a moment, the origin energy vortexes on Lu Kuan's fists gradually dissipated. He opened his palms, and the origin energy in his physical body turned into 3 layers of invisible force fields, floating above his palms. Each layer of origin energy occupied an area of about a foot, and 3 layers were 3 feet. Then, the muscles on his arms twisted slightly, and with the cooperation of his magic energy, the 3 layers of origin energy quickly compressed to an area of 1 foot. Then, his right palm began to vibrate at an extremely fast speed. At the same time, the 3 layers of origin energy fields outside his palm began to vibrate at a similar amplitude, causing a distorted illusion of a palm to appear in front of Lu Kuan's palm. With the palm as the core, using the rapid vibration of the physical body's origin energy, I can transform a huge amount of power into the power of vibrations. It's equivalent to a palm attack theurgy. Lu Kuan felt the invisible power of vibrations and was quite satisfied. In the previous battle, he used this power of vibrations to even disperse the powerful golden sword. If I use this vibration palm technique to attack the mana shield of a nascent soul stage cultivator, will the power of vibrations pass through the shield and directly attack his physical body? Currently, I can only superimpose 3 layers of origin energy fields on my palm. If I superimpose 4 layers, what kind of changes will occur in the power of vibrations? The change in the frequency of the palm's vibrations seems to be able to produce different powers. It seems that I have to experiment more. If I can perfect it, this will be a palm technique system. Lu Kuan's face flashed with excitement, and strange ideas emerged in his mind. He then raised his index and middle fingers again. The palm technique produces the power of vibrations. Can I condense the power on my fingers in a spiral manner, producing a powerful penetrating force and breaking through the surface with a single point? He clenched his hand into a fist again. A fist made up of many bones and joints can withstand a stronger burst of power compared to the palm and fingers. If I adjust the origin energy field outside the fist, I wonder if I can instantly burst out with the strongest burst of power when the fist hits the enemy. Lu Kuan's eyes revealed a fanatical look, and a complicated origin energy fluctuation surged from his hand. First, set a small goal, such as 1 second. Remember, book house. Chapter 891. Half a day later, Huang Xiaoyun raised his head. His eyes were filled with surprise. This sword core condensation technique simply brought the sharpness of the metal element to the extreme. When a sword cultivator comprehended sword intent and condensed a sword intent imprint in his dantian, he could use the sword intent imprint to replace the metal element imprint. It was similar to his second senior apprentice brother, Zhao Qingtian's poison wood imprint. If he could comprehend sword intent in advance, he could condense sword intent imprints on his arms, legs, chest, and back. Then, with the guidance of sword intent, the chances of the sword core fusing with his bones would greatly increase. If he broke through like this, his body would also undergo a huge change. His bones and spiritual power would all have sword intent, and his physical attack power would be accompanied by the extreme sharpness of sword intent. With the characteristics of his demonic gold body, he would definitely be the nemesis of demonic cultivators. Just as Huang Xiaoyun was pleasantly surprised, Lu Kuan suddenly said, "Xiaoyun, have you finished reading?" Huang Xiaoyun nodded vigorously and said, "I've finished reading." "Master, is the Valley of Swords that you mentioned to help sword cultivators comprehend sword intent?" "But how to comprehend sword intent, I still have no clue." Lu Kuan said, "The Valley of Swords can help sword cultivators comprehend sword intent because it is filled with sharpness. If you can comprehend this sharpness that penetrates deep into the soul, you can condense sword intent imprints in advance." Then, a jade bottle appeared in Lu Kuan's hand. He threw it over and said, "This is green essence sword wine. It contains a trace of sharpness. With the strength of your body, this cup of wine won't cause any harm to your body. However, the sharpness inside will stab your consciousness. In the next 5 years, try your best to comprehend this sword core condensation technique. At critical moments, you can use this green essence sword wine to assist. 5 years later, you will enter the Valley of Swords. As for whether you can comprehend sword intent, it will depend on you." Huang Xiaoyun clenched his fist tightly and said, "Master, I will definitely not let you down." Lu Kuan looked at Huang Xiaoyun, who had a determined expression on his face. He was also rather confident. From what he could see, the Golden Essence Body Tempering Mantra's metal elemental spiritual power was purer than that of ordinary cultivators because he did not use immortal cultivator elixirs. On the other hand, the dermic powers of body cultivators were created for the purpose of tempering the body. The cruder the method of circulation, the better the tempering effect of the body. Compared to immortal cultivators, the dermic powers of body cultivators were incomparably violent. Therefore, it was very difficult for body cultivators to cast some complicated spells. However, it was precisely such metal-type physical dermic powers that were more suitable for comprehending sword intent. In order to protect their meridians, the sword cultivators of the Heavenly Sword sect would restrain the circulation of their cultivation method. They were afraid that the powerful metal-attributed spiritual power would harm their meridians. No matter how pure the metal-attributed spiritual power was, it was completely bound by the meridians. The chances of using such gentle metal-attributed spiritual power to comprehend the extremely sharp sword intent were too low. Although Lu Kuan did not know how the ancient sword cultivators protected their meridians, in his opinion, the Heavenly Sword sect's sword cultivation methods should have been completely integrated with the Golden Essence Body Tempering Mantra. Only the body cultivator's body could bring out the extremely sharp sword intent to the extreme. Early stage bone treasure, sword elixir fused into the bones, and dermic powers of sword intent. Middle stage bone treasure, 206 sword bones were formed. Middle stage bone treasure, all the bones in the body were inlaid matured sword treasures, and the body became a sword. Combining body refinement and sword refinement, this was the right path. Those immortal cultivators of the Heavenly Sword sect were simply ruining the sword cultivation method. Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with something called ambition. First deal with the miraculous gate. After it's over, whatever sword cultivation methods, sword nurturing techniques, and that Valley of Swords, all will belong to my body refining pavilion. The spiritual power in Huang Xiaoyun's body was vigorous. The speed of the flying boat was not slow. At this time, they had already passed through the land of death and were shooting towards Bluestone Town. Somewhere in the sky of the eastern pond state, a huge green flying boat was flying quickly. There were more than 30 people on it, half of them were young men and women. At this time, they were looking around curiously. At the front of the flying boat stood several immortal cultivators, emitting strong waves of spiritual power. They were all powerhouses above the core formation stage. They were Qin Yushu, Xiao Hongfei, and the others from the treasure pavilion. In addition, in the middle of them stood an old man with a head full of white hair and a sorrowful expression. Qin Yushu said with a heavy expression, "Uncle Zhu, as long as you are safe and sound, Master will be able to rest in peace in the underworld." It turned out that this old man was Zhu Siming, who was released by old Demon Pang. Just as Lu Kuan guessed, he had successfully met up with Qin Yushu and the others. Zhu Siming sighed and said with a serious expression, "Yushu, you are wrong. Passing down the Yeyang clan's refining techniques was Senior Nie's last wish." Qin Yushu clenched his fists and said with a bright light in his eyes, "Uncle Zhu, don't worry. Lu Shidi has entered the nascent soul stage and is very powerful. He asked us to meet in the Eastern Pond State to discuss how to deal with the miraculous gate and take back the Lu state that originally belonged to us. After that, we can develop with all our strength." Thinking of Lu Kuan, Zhu Siming's face showed a rare smile. "Originally, Senior Nie and I thought that it would be difficult for you to escape the pursuit of the miraculous gate with your foundation establishment stage cultivation. Unexpectedly, not only did you escape to the Chu state, you also found the things left behind by Ancestor Fong by chance and divided them into the treasure pavilion and the body refining pavilion. Lu Kuan is really a genius. Not only did he create his own body refining immortal cultivation, he even entered the nascent soul stage so quickly." Then, Zhu Siming thought of something and asked the person beside him, "Daoist Xiao, when you were at the Demon Spirit Island, did Lu Kuan really kill a nascent soul stage cultivator so easily?" Xiao Hongfei's face showed an extremely complicated expression. He nodded slowly and said, "That's right. From the beginning to the end, Brother Lu only used a few breaths of time. That nascent soul stage cultivator called Tu Tianqing didn't even manage to escape. And the other nascent soul stage cultivator called Daoist Lord Three Suns saw such a scene and lost all courage to fight. He turned and ran. Although he heard them say it a few times, Zhu Siming still felt that it was unbelievable. A nascent soul stage cultivator was killed so easily. Lu Kuan's abilities were definitely much stronger than Ancestor Fong of the Yeyang clan. Then, Zhu Siming showed a worried expression. "If old Devil Sure of the Miraculous Gate is still in the intermediate stage of the nascent soul stage, we have a good chance of defeating him if we join forces with the Heavenly Sword Clan and the Green Alliance. But if old Devil Sure has entered the advanced stage of the cultivator stage, I'm afraid we..." Qin Yushu shook his head and said, "Uncle Zhu, after so many years of wandering and cultivating, Lu Shidi has become very cautious. This time, he gathered us to deal with the miraculous gate. He must have a lot of confidence. Once we meet, we will know." Zhu Siming nodded. Then, his face suddenly darkened. A surge of spiritual energy that was close to the peak of the completion stage came out of his body. He said coldly, "I wonder who is visiting. Can you come out and meet me?" On the side, Xiao Hongfei and the others' expressions changed. They spread out their spiritual energy in all directions. However, they did not find anything out of the ordinary. They looked at Zhu Siming in confusion. Zhu Siming sneered. He looked to the right of the flying boat and extended his spiritual energy towards that area. Ha ha ha! A string of bell-like laughter was heard. A woman wearing a long blue dress appeared in midair. This woman had fair skin and beautiful features. She was tall and slender. Even though she was wearing a long dress, one could still feel her long and slender legs. Her white and tender feet casually stepped on a piece of cloud. A fresh and playful aura came over. The woman blinked her light blue eyes and said curiously, "I didn't think that the treasure pavilion was hiding such a powerful cultivator with such a terrifying spiritual energy." When the people of the treasure pavilion saw this woman, their expressions relaxed. Zhu Xiaofeng smiled bitterly and said, "So it is Fairy Fong Yuan from the Spirit Transformation sect. We have known each other for a long time." "Fairy, why are you hiding here?" When Zhu Siming heard this, he immediately knew who this person was. Aside from the Abyssal Island, the Treasure Pavilion also owned several weapon refining shops in the Spirit Transformation Sect's market. Fairy Fong Yuan was the sect master of the Spirit Transformation Sect. With her help, the Treasure Pavilion's development was relatively stable in recent years. This woman was a peak completion stage cultivator. Her strength was unfathomable. However, with so many core completion stage cultivators in the Treasure Pavilion, there was no need to be afraid. Zhu Siming cupped his fists and said, "So it is, Fairy Fong. I am Zhu Siming. I have been cultivating outside for a long time. Recently, I have reunited with a few of my fellow disciples. May I know why Fairy Fong is here?" Fong Yuan slightly bowed and said with a serious expression, "Fong Yuan came this time because I want to meet Master Lu through the recommendation of the Treasure Pavilion. I have something important to discuss." Qin Yushu and Zhu Xiaofeng looked at each other and couldn't help but frown. They had known the Spirit Transformation Sect for a long time. Although there were disciples from the Body Refining Pavilion, they all hid their strength. Lu Kuan also didn't have any contact with the Spirit Transformation Sect. Where did this Fairy Fong Yuan find out about Lu Kuan? From her tone, it seemed like she also knew that Lu Kuan had entered the nascent soul stage. First, set a small goal. For example, 1 second. Remember, book guest house. Chapter 892. Sun Ergu was the Hunter King of Bluestone Town. When he was young, he was taught by a senior martial artist. He was the only second-rate martial artist in the town, and a peak second-rate one at that. Recently, Sun Ergu felt that it was very strange. Bluestone Town, which usually only had merchant caravans, had many unfamiliar martial artists. Although these martial artists did not do anything and left after eating a big meal, as a native of Bluestone Town, Sun Ergu was extremely vigilant against martial artists who suddenly appeared. Therefore, he tried to tail these people, who knew that not long after leaving the town, he would be left behind. Sun Ergu was not willing to give up. He tried to track every group of martial artists, but the result was the same every time. In addition to having the strength of a peak second-rate martial artist, he was also a hunter. Even a first-rate martial artist would find it difficult to escape from his tracking technique. In other words, every martial artist who passed by here was a superclass expert. Damn it, where did so many experts come from? Sun Ergu had seen the world. There were at least 200 superclass experts who passed by in the past few days. Even if all the top martial artists in the Eastern Pond State were added together, there would not be this many. After discovering the strength of these martial artists, Sun Ergu did not pursue them. If he angered them because of his pursuit, he would not even know how he died. A few days passed like this. In the mountain range west of Bluestone Town, a thick fog gradually rose and shrouded the entire mountain range. The hunters of Bluestone Town found that if they accidentally walked into the fog, they would only walk out inexplicably and would not be able to enter the mountain. After all, Sun Ergu had seen the world. He knew that there were immortals in this world who could cast immortal spells that could move mountains and fill seas. This thick fog was probably some kind of immortal spell. For some reason, he felt that this thick fog immortal spell was related to those martial artists. Then, he felt that it was impossible. No matter how powerful martial artists were, they were still mortals. How could it be related to immortals? In a valley deep in the mountain range, a large number of shouts and bombardments echoed. The top martial artists that Sun Ergu met were waving all kinds of weapons that flashed with spiritual light. They were chiseling at the walls on both sides of the valley, opening up their own temporary cave abode. On the trees on both sides of the valley, many strong chimpanzees were rolling and jumping, making excited sounds. Among them, there were 2 small figures, one gold and one silver, scurrying around. From time to time, there would be happy squeaks and howls. In the center of the valley there was a tower that was 200 feet tall. Core. At the top of the tower was an incomparably wide platform. 5 men and 1 woman sat cross-legged on it. The men had sturdy bodies and deep auras. Even the beautiful woman with skin as white as jade had a sturdy and powerful body. And Lu Kuan looked at his disciples, and a look of gratification flashed in the depths of his eyes. He had stepped onto the path of immortal body refinement all by himself, and his disciples had also stepped onto this path, walking their own unique path of body refinement. Zhao Qingtian, relying on the combination of wood attribute magic power and poison, he condensed the poison wood mark. He entered the bone treasure stage with the 6 poisons merge mystic technique. His physical attacks contained ferocious poison. If a normal core formation stage cultivator was hit with the poison, their spell body would probably be completely destroyed. With Zhao Qingtian's experience, the next generation of disciples of the primordial wood body tempering technique could also use the poison wood body tempering technique to break through. They could rely on the terrifying poison in their magic power to unleash a unique combat strength. Sher Chao, relying on Wang Ruobing's mystic technique, she integrated the frost sword into her arm bone and borrowed the power of the mystic treasure to break through the bottleneck of the bone treasure stage. With the special characteristics of the mystic treasure, a body cultivator could unleash the full power of the set of mystic treasures. Their strength was even stronger than Shao Jin. This method of using the mystic treasure gave Lu Kuan many new ideas for body tempering. Yu Xian, using the primordial fire body tempering technique, she was preparing to break through the bottleneck with the help of the deviant flame. If she succeeded, there might be some unique changes in the refinement of the deviant flame. Huang Xiaoyun was comprehending the method of condensing the sword core. The primordial gold body tempering technique was extremely compatible with the heavenly sword sex technique. In addition to the golden devil body and green essence sword wine, if he comprehended sword intent and formed 6 sword intent imprints on his body, his chances of breaking through would greatly increase. Lu Kuan looked at Pan Yen, who was even more muscular than him. He couldn't help but feel a headache coming on. This little disciple of his could be said to have the best aptitude among the disciples. He had the body of solid earth, a 6-star physique. But because of this, his cultivation speed was the slowest. It seemed that the earth attribute favored this physique. Under the tempering of the primordial earth body tempering technique, Pan Yan's physical defense was even stronger than Lu Kuan's when he was young. The poison's effect was extremely low. Lu Kuan even wanted to lift Pan Yan up and smash the dragon stone to see how sturdy it was. After a while, Lu Kuan said, "Master plans to officially attack the miraculous gate in 30 years and seize Lu province." Everyone raised their heads and looked at Lu Kuan with excitement. They had been in hiding for too long and didn't dare to casually reveal their body cultivation. They had almost never fought to their heart's content. Although they had been sitting on Demon Spirit Island all these years, they had always felt uneasy. After all, they were surrounded by cultivators of Chu. The 10 great sects had many people. If they were exposed, they would definitely become the target of public criticism. In the cultivation world of Chu, Lu Kuan and the others were complete outsiders. If they invaded Chu's resources, the 10 great sects would definitely unite. Wei was different. Its area was smaller than Chu. Other than the Miraculous Gate, there were only the Heavenly Sword sect and the Green League among the large cultivation sections. The 3 sects were in a deadlock. If they could destroy the Miraculous Gate and take back their territory, the Body Refining Pavilion would not only have a real sect base, but the strength it displayed would also intimidate the surrounding cultivation countries. Any cultivator who had designs on the Body Refining Pavilion would have to think twice. Lu Kuan asked, "Qingtian, what's the situation of the Sacred Poison sect now?" Zhao Qingtian said respectfully, Master, the core formation cultivators of the sacred poison sect have all been poisoned. Duan has already grasped the power. Lu Kuan said again, have you calculated the poisons that promote body refining? Zhao Qingtian nodded and said, I have. There are a total of 138 types of poisons suitable for the muscle refining stage, 21 for the bone tempering stage, none for the blood condensation stage, and 16 for the viscera forging stage. The sacred poison sect's poison reserves are also abundant. Lu Kuan thought for a moment and said slowly, next, you and Little Du will make arrangements. I want all the disciples of the sacred poison sect to refine poisons suitable for the muscle refining and bone tempering stages. There are already 17 second-generation disciples of the body refining pavilion who have entered the bone tempering stage. Give them enough poisons. I will also ask the treasure pavilion to prepare a large amount of earth fire stones so that they can cultivate both internally and externally. Within 30 years, I want to see half of them enter the blood condensation stage. At this stage, body cultivators will have a longer-lasting battle strength. Lu Kuan looked at everyone. You have all experienced the bone tempering stage. With so many resources, it shouldn't be a problem, right? Zhao Qingtian said in a deep voice, Master, don't worry. We will definitely supervise these disciples. Lu Kuan continued, in addition to the second-generation disciples, there are more than 50 young martial artists with spirit roots in the martial artist clans. Prepare enough poisons for them. I will also ask Dahe and Corpse Priest to control their Yao Qi and Yin Qi to assist them. If these people can enter the bone tempering stage within 30 years, they will be promoted to second-generation disciples. At this point, Lu Kuan's expression turned serious. Our body refining pavilion is different from other immortal cultivators. Remember, with the pioneering efforts of the previous generation disciples, the body refining arts will become more and more perfect. He looked around at the disciples and said in a deep voice, Tell the future disciples that the body refining pavilion only cares about seniority and not cultivation. You have all walked your own paths. Even if the second-generation disciples have a higher cultivation than you, they will have to obediently call you martial uncle and martial uncle. If there is anyone who doesn't respect you, I, Lu Kuan, will be the first to destroy them. The 5 disciples nodded heavily. Lu Kuan continued, Qingtian, in addition to supervising the disciples, you have to study the refining method of the psychic poison treasure. If the sacred poison sect doesn't have any materials, I will help you find them. Quickly increase your battle strength. Yes, Master. Lu Kuan then looked at Sher Chao and said, Shui, we don't have any extra true devil water now. Focus on using the magic power of your bones to nurture the frost swords. According to my observation, this pair of magic treasures is not far from the mature stage. Once they enter the mature stage, you will be able to rival a late core formation cultivator. Yu Xian and Xiao Yun, I won't say anything more. I already have the method to break through. You must break through to the bone treasure stage for me. Yu Xian and Xiao Yun nodded firmly. In the end, Lu Kuan looked at Pan Yin. The latter shrunk his neck and reluctantly said, Master, I will also work hard in my cultivation and break through as soon as possible. Lu Kuan shook his head. You should go to the sacred poison sect to cultivate. That resentment abyss is very suitable for you. It is too wasteful for you to use poison. That's right, the little silver silkworm is also on the verge of breaking through. Who knows, it might be able to successfully break through there. If it becomes a golden silkworm goo insect, its poison amplification will increase even further. Lu Kuan's voice gradually became stern. In 20 years, you must complete the reconstruction of your internal organs. Otherwise, I will flatten the surrounding mountains with you. Pan Yan's body couldn't help but tremble. He nodded repeatedly. Lu Kuan stood up and walked to the edge of the platform. He looked at the martial artists in the valley who were in full swing and muttered, In addition to improving the cultivation of the first and second generation disciples, there is still a very important secret technique that needs to be researched. With it, the foundation of the body refining pavilion will become incomparably strong. P.S. This chapter was written using my phone on the high-speed train. There are still 6 chapters left for this week. Tomorrow and the day after, I will be locked up in a small dark room. First set a small goal. For example, 1 second. Remember, book guest house. Chapter 893. Eastern Pond Region. On a red cliff peak at the edge of the Land of Death, Zhu Siming and Xiao Hongfei stood beside Fairy Fong Yuan, and the 3 of them were casually chatting. Fairy Fong Yuan said, "Fellow Zhu, Master Lu is a nascent soul stage cultivator, and I am only a core formation stage cultivator. It is not good for Master Lu to come here personally." Zhu Siming said meaningfully, "Fairy Fong Yuan, that place is the temporary residence of the body refining pavilion. If the discussion between Fairy and Pavilion Master Lu goes smoothly, then it's fine. If there's some unpleasantness, I'm afraid it'll be difficult for Fairy to come out." Hearing this, Fong Yuan understood. According to her ancestor, the body refining pavilion was in a dormant state. If she went there, wouldn't that place be exposed? Fairy Fong Yuan said softly, "Thank you for your reminder, but it is indeed not good to go there directly." Zhu Siming suddenly looked towards the west with a strange expression. "He is here. What kind of escape technique is that?" After a while, Fong Yuan and Xiao Hongfei also sensed something, and their expressions were extremely surprised. In the distant horizon, there was a figure running in the air like a mortal. The air under his feet was like solid ground. Every step he took was dozens of feet away. His speed was shocking. After 10 breaths, this burly man brought a strong gust of wind and landed on the red cliff peak. A strange pressure spread out. The 3 of them unconsciously had goosebumps. Their hearts beat faster and their chests felt heavy. It was as if there was an invisible pressure that was squeezing their bodies. This feeling only lasted for a breath before it disappeared without a trace. It was as if it was an illusion. Lu Kuan took 2 steps forward and looked at the energetic Zhu Siming. His eyes were filled with respect as he said, "Martial Uncle Zhu, you are finally back." Zhu Siming said with a bleak expression, "My old bones have survived. It is a pity that Nie Wufeng." Then he shook his head and said, "We'll talk about this later. By the way, Lu Kuan, you're already a nascent soul cultivator. There's no need for you to call me Martial Uncle. We should do the opposite." Lu Kuan said seriously, "Martial Uncle Zhu, the body refining pavilion only cares about seniority, not cultivation. But the treasure pavilion is a sect that inherits skills, so naturally it also cares about seniority. Without you and Martial Uncle Nie's help, I am afraid that Lu would not have been able to reach this step. You've always been my martial uncle." Zhu Siming couldn't help but recall the days when he was at the Yeyang clan's refining peak more than 100 years ago. He had helped Lu Kuan, and Lu Kuan had also helped him. It was only because he had perfected the soul sensing technique that he was able to break through to the core formation stage when his lifespan was nearing its end. Zhu Siming was gratified and said, "All right, but I can't call you Martial Nephew. From now on, I'll call you Master Lu." Lu Kuan didn't refute. After greeting Xiao Hongfei, he looked at the tall woman and said, "This must be Fairy Fong Yuan from the Spirit Transformation sect. I heard from Senior Martial Brother Qin that Fairy has something to discuss with Lu. I wonder what it is." As soon as Lu Kuan appeared, Fong Yuan carefully sized up this body refinement founder that the Ancestor had mentioned. With her divine ability, she could not sense any aura from Pavilion Master Lu other than the pressure he exuded at the beginning. Even his flying escape technique didn't give off any fluctuations of magic art. Could it be that the so-called body refining immortal cultivation had completely broken away from the realm of immortal cultivators? Was that why the heavenly tribulation had descended? Fairy Fong Yuan, who was letting her imagination run wild, calmed herself down. She bowed slightly and said, "I'm Fong Yuan. Greetings, Master Lu. I've taken the liberty to visit. I do have something important to discuss." As she spoke, her light blue eyes glanced at Zhu Siming and Xiao Hongfei. Lu Kuan frowned and said, "Martial Uncle Zhu, Brother Xiao, please go to the rendezvous point first. It's a bit crude and I'll need your help to perfect it." Zhu Siming and Xiao Hongfei understood Lu Kuan's meaning. Their magic power surged and they turned into two streaks of light and shot into the distance. After the two people from the treasured tool pavilion left, Lu Kuan said expressionlessly, "Before Fairy Fong Yuan speaks, can you tell me where you heard about the body refining pavilion and how you knew about Lu Kuan's cultivation?" In his impression, only the three Yang Supreme of the Scorching Sun sect knew about this. Could it be that the three Yang Supreme had spread the news about him? Fairy Fong Yuan said calmly, "The body refining pavilion and Master Lu's cultivation were informed by our sect's patriarch." Lu Kuan frowned and said, "According to Lu's knowledge, the spirit transformation sect only worships an 8th-tier demon cultivator. They don't have any nascent soul cultivators. Who is this patriarch?" Fairy Fong Yuan said proudly, "Our sect's patriarch is the only spirit transformation cultivator in the Chu country." Lu Kuan chuckled and said, "If the Tao Yi sect said that they have a spirit transformation cultivator, Lu would believe it. But the spirit transformation sect is just an ordinary sect in the Chu country. How could they have a spirit transformation cultivator?" Fairy Fong Yuan knew that Lu Kuan couldn't believe it. She said slowly, "When Master Lu transformed into the long-armed demon ape and went through the last lightning tribulation, the patriarch was in the chaotic ocean. She witnessed Master Lu using the Devil King's divine body technique to kill Tu Tianqing and scare the three Yang Supreme away. His strength is comparable to a grand cultivator." Hearing this, Lu Kuan's expression changed slightly. Fong Yuan could actually tell the scene of him transforming into the long-armed demon ape. With the characteristics of his body, he could even sense the prying of a grand cultivator. Could she really be a spirit transformation cultivator? The long-armed demon ape and the Devil King's divine body technique were all secrets of the Yuan sect. Could it be that the spirit transformation sect was related to the Yuan sect? Lu Kuan said in a deep voice, "Lu has some doubts. Since your sect has a spirit transformation cultivator, why don't you have a nascent soul cultivator?" Fairy Fong Yuan smiled bitterly and said, "Master Lu, you don't know. Our sect's oath stone stipulates that our sect's disciples can only cultivate our sect's technique. The patriarch also insists on this. Our sect's techniques are closely related to demonic beasts. If we want to surpass a realm, we have to tame a Class 8 demonic beast. But now that the inner and outer seas are separated, all the high-level demonic beasts are in the outer seas. Even the Tao Yi sect's grand cultivators don't dare to go deep." Lu Kuan said doubtfully, "If that's the case, then it's even more impossible for the spirit transformation sect to have a spirit transformation cultivator." Fairy Fong Yuan paused for a moment before revealing a proud expression. "Pavilion Master Lu, you may not know this, but 30,000 years ago, our spirit transformation sect's strength was at the top of the Chu country. We were fully deserving of being called the #1 sect. Not only did we have a spirit transformation stage cultivator like our ancestor, we even had over 20 nascent soul stage elders. Moreover, with the help of their respective demonic beasts, the elders of our sect could fight against two experts of the same realm. They could definitely fight against those of a higher realm. During that glorious era, we led the cultivation world of Chu and advanced to the outer seas, seizing large amounts of cultivation resources. But we didn't expect that a flood dragon would awaken the bloodline of a true dragon and break through the bottleneck of Class 10, reaching the legendary demonic king realm. This flood dragon's combat talent was astonishing. Even with the help of the demonic king Xiangui, the patriarch could only fight it to a draw. After countless years of war, the demonic beasts and cultivators suffered heavy casualties. In the end, they had no choice but to sign a truce. From then on, the cultivators of Chu and the overseas demonic beasts were separated by the inner and outer seas. The patriarch and the flood dragon were not allowed to cross the boundary. The great war between the human race and the overseas demonic beasts came to an end. At this point, Fairy Fong Yuan revealed a helpless expression. After more than 1,000 years, the patriarch discovered that the spirit transformation sect had been schemed against by the demonic king. The high-level demonic beasts had all retreated to the outer seas. As long as the cultivators entered the outer seas, the flood dragon king would be able to attack. Therefore, the spirit transformation sect could only capture the demonic beasts of the inner seas that had yet to awaken their consciousness to maintain the number of core formation cultivators. One must know that if the demonic beasts didn't have an inheritance, they wouldn't be able to advance beyond Class 8 unless they refined a Class 8 demonic core. As the lifespan of the nascent soul elders decreased, the nascent soul cultivators of our sect entered a gap. Fairy Fong Yuan revealed a look of admiration and said, in a fit of anger, the patriarch paid a huge price to coexist with the demonic king Xiangui, causing his lifespan to increase greatly. He wanted to use the terrifying lifespan of the demonic king Xiangui to exhaust the flood dragon king to death before charging into the outer seas. Then, she said with a strange expression, that flood dragon king also had a bad temper. After learning of the patriarch's actions, he actually burned his true dragon blood essence to lock the demonic king's cultivation and extend his lifespan. Just like that, the man and the flood dragon spent 30,000 years. Chapter 894. Lu Kuan was dumbfounded. Was this still a soul formation cultivator? Why did it feel like they were using their lifespan to exhaust the other party to death like a child? Or had they tried all kinds of methods and realized that they could not kill the other party, so they resorted to such a stupid method? Lu Kuan could not help but ask, Fairy Fong Yuan, you said that your sect's patriarch has lived for 30,000 years. This secret technique is too heaven-defying. Fairy Fong Yuan shook her head and said, how can there be such a secret technique? The patriarch has the bloodline of the black tortoise and has a special physique. That is why he can share his lifespan with the black tortoise demon king. If it was an ordinary soul formation cultivator of our sect, even with the secret technique to share the lifespan of the demon king, he can only live for 3,000 years at most. Fairy Fong Yuan's light blue eyes flashed with sadness. But 30,000 years have passed, and the patriarch's lifespan has come to an end. Lu Kuan's pupils shrank. This senior's lifespan is coming to an end, doesn't that mean? Fairy Fong Yuan nodded. That's right. Without the patriarch's protection, the demons in the outer sea will definitely invade Chu and occupy the mainland that they have coveted for a long time. Lu Kuan was very shocked. If that was the case, there would be a war in Chu, and it would be a war between immortal cultivators and demon beasts. The outer sea was extremely vast, and no one knew how many demon beasts lived there. He then thought of something and asked, your sect's patriarch's lifespan is coming to an end. What about the flood dragon king in the outer sea? Fong Yuan said with a complicated expression, I'm not sure about that. But the patriarch said that he would make a trip to the outer sea. But no matter what, the invasion of Chu by the demons is unavoidable. After a while, Lu Kuan digested this information. He said in a low voice, I didn't expect you to bring such news. Could it be that the matter you and Lu are discussing is related to the invasion of the demons? Fairy Fong Yuan said seriously, I came to find Master Lu this time to let the spirit transformation sect rely on the body refining pavilion to have a place to stay in Wei. Rely on the body refining pavilion? Lu Kuan said self-deprecatingly, we haven't even taken back our own territory. What ability do we have to settle the spirit transformation sect? Fairy Fong Yuan's light blue eyes looked at Lu Kuan and said slowly, I didn't believe it at first, but the patriarch said that Master Lu's strength is comparable to a great cultivator. But that's a different matter. Lu Kuan, or not, that he. Fairy Fong Yuan didn't know what Lu Kuan was thinking. She continued, although our sect is small and weak, we have 11 core formation cultivators and more than 50 foundation establishment disciples. With the help of our respective demonic beasts, we will definitely be a great help in dealing with the miraculous gate. Hearing about the assistance of demonic beasts, Lu Kuan's expression changed. I understand. If the spirit transformation sect is placed in the Wei country, then when a war breaks out in the cultivation world of the Chu country, they can use the Wei country as their base to fish in troubled waters. If we can catch a Class 8 demonic beast or a Class 7 demonic beast with a bloodline inheritance, your sect will completely break the gap of these years and have a nascent soul cultivator. Fong Yuan said frankly, that's right. The spirit transformation sect is willing to rely on the body refining pavilion because we hope that Master Lu can help us catch Class 8 demonic beasts. Lu Kuan pondered for a moment and said, but Fairy Fong Yuan, if the spirit transformation sect enters Wei, the 10 great sects may join forces to attack Wei in order to leave a way out after the demon race invades. That would be inviting trouble to ourselves. Hearing about the 10 great sects, Fairy Fong Yuan said, the Qi kingdom in the north is suitable for fiendish cultivators. The spirit Qi in the south is barren. Only the Wei kingdom in the east is suitable for cultivators to live in. Even without the spirit transformation sect, those fellows will definitely target Wei. It's better to let the spirit transformation sect develop in secret. If we have a few nascent soul cultivators and a Class 8 demonic beast, the pressure on Wei will be greatly reduced. Seeing that Lu Kuan was still thinking, Fairy Fong Yuan said, as long as Master Lu agrees, I will use our sect's oath stone and make a new oath with our sect's disciples to define the spirit transformation sect as a subordinate sect of the body refining pavilion. Lu Kuan was silent for a moment and suddenly asked, is this your ancestor's intention? Fairy Fong Yuan nodded and said, that's right. The patriarch believes that Pavilion Master Lu's techniques and abhijna can restrain demonic cultivators who have taken human form. It can definitely help our sect develop, and our sect's techniques can also inspire Pavilion Master Lu. The first sentence was fine, but when Lu Kuan heard the last sentence, he was moved. He could not ignore the words of a spirit transformation cultivator. The spirit transformation sect's cultivation method could help him break through to the nascent soul stage with the help of a Class 8 demonic beast. It could indeed inspire him. After all, bone transformation cultivators and Class 8 demonic beasts both experienced thunder tribulations. The two must have some similarities. Thinking of this, Lu Kuan slowly nodded. Okay, Lu agrees. As he spoke, Lu Kuan's eyes emitted a trace of golden light and looked at Fairy Fong Yuan's waist. There was an exquisite spirit beast pouch there. There seemed to be an invisible force field in the air surrounding the spirit beast pouch. At this time, the fellow Taoist that Fairy brought along can come out to meet me. Fong Yuan felt the tense air and her delicate body could not help but tremble. She forced a smile and said, I didn't think that Master Lu could sense the situation inside the spirit beast pouch. Martial Uncle Turtle, please come out to meet me. Then the spirit beast pouch at her waist trembled and a huge figure appeared beside Fong Yuan. A dense demonic aura filled the air. This was a half-human half-demon woman. She had green skin, a turtle's nose and ears, and from her specially woven long braids, one could barely distinguish the characteristics of a woman. Her body was very bloated. Her chest and waist were equally majestic. Her size was almost 3 times that of Fairy Fong Yuan. Her wide green dress barely wrapped around her body. She looked like an ugly fat shrew. The moment this shrew appeared, her face was incomparably nervous. The demonic spiritual energy within her body surged, and a huge green tortoise shell covered her majestic body. Only her thick limbs and half-human, half-tortoise face could be seen. With this turtle shell, the shrew's expression seemed to relax a lot. She laughed dryly and said, "I am Gui Ling. Greetings to Master Lu." It was Lu Kuan's first time seeing a demonic beast above the 8th rank. He looked at Gui Ling curiously. The latter seemed to be very uneasy. Bubbles kept coming out of her nose and mouth. Lu Kuan smiled innocently and said, "So it's fellow Taoist turtle. Fairy Fong Yuan, the spirit transformation sect, has this fellow Taoist turtle." Why, Fairy Fong Yuan looked at the shrew with a frightened expression and said awkwardly, "Martial Uncle Turtle is the son of Taoist King Xian Turtle. He can be considered the Ancestor's disciple." Lu Kuan looked thoughtful and said, "Your sect's Ancestor has already made plans. The Spirit Transformation sect should be preparing to leave. Our sect has already prepared everything. We are just waiting for Master Lu and I to finish the discussion." In that case, Fairy Fong Yuan might as well come to the temporary residence of the Body Refining Pavilion. As for fellow Taoist Turtle, he should be able to arrange the evacuation of the Spirit Transformation sect. Fairy Fong Yuan was slightly surprised. Then, she smiled and said, "Martial Uncle Turtle, sorry to trouble you. You only need to inform Junior Martial Brother Fong. He will arrange everything. You just need to protect them secretly." Hearing this, Gui Ling felt relieved. She quickly turned into a blue light and shot into the distance as if she was escaping. As the descendant of the Black Tortoise, her spiritual sense was extremely powerful. Standing in front of Master Lu, she felt a deathly pressure. It was as if he made a move, she would die for sure. After putting on her turtle shell, this feeling was greatly reduced. Fong Yuan told her to find the Spirit Transformation sect's disciples. She was very happy. As for why she was so scared, she felt it was normal. If the Black Tortoise was not scared, how could it have such a long lifespan? Seeing Gui Ling disappear into the horizon, Lu Kuan took Fairy Fong Yuan and flew towards Bluestone Town. Fairy Fong Yuan was very clear that Master Lu agreed because of the threat of the Ancestor. She could only rest assured after both sides set up restrictions through the Oath Stone. Every time she thought of the glory of the Spirit Transformation sect 30,000 years ago, Fairy Fong Yuan felt extremely sullen. Now, with the help of Master Lu and the opportunity of the demon race's invasion, the Spirit Transformation sect would definitely welcome great development. Lu Kuan was actually the same as Fairy Fong Yuan. He was waiting for the Spirit Transformation sect to set up restrictions. He still had some doubts about the existence of the Spirit Transformation Stage Senior. It seemed that the Senior had no ill intentions towards him. Otherwise, the Senior would have made a move while he was undergoing his tribulation. The Spirit Transformation sect needed the help of a nascent soul stage cultivator, while the Body Refining Pavilion lacked core formation and foundation establishment stage cultivators. Both sides were very compatible. With the addition of the Spirit Transformation sect, their cultivators below the nascent soul stage would be able to crush the Miraculous Gate. As long as the nascent soul stage cultivators of the Miraculous Gate were dealt with, Lu Zhou, no, half of Wei country, would be the territory of the Body Refining Pavilion. Chapter 895. In the valley where the Body Refining Pavilion was temporarily stationed, 2 women were walking leisurely. Fairy Fong Yuan kept sizing up the beautiful woman with creamy skin and asked curiously, "Little Sister Shuer, are you really Master Lu's disciple and a body-refining cultivator?" Sher Chow covered her forehead with one hand and said with a headache, "Big Sister Yuan, you've already asked 3 times. Fairy Fong Yuan pinched Sher Chow's arm and clicked her tongue, saying, "I thought that the female disciples of the body-refining pavilion would be big and burly, but little sister's figure is curvy and has a strange sense of beauty. How did you train?" Sher Chow was annoyed by Fong Yuan's questions and said helplessly, "The bodies of women and men are different. Unless they are born with a special bone structure, they will not be big and burly. Their bodies will only be tighter and more solid." Sher Chow lowered her head and looked at her full breasts. She felt a little proud. Her buttocks were well developed and were naturally very perky. As for her breasts, Sher Chow had a unique trick. After body tempering reached large success, body refining cultivators had reached an extremely high level of control over their bodies. Sher Chow could adjust her body's fat to her breasts through blood control and adjust them to a size she was satisfied with. Fairy Fong Yuan naturally did not know about Sher Chow's little secret. She was just casually chatting with Sher Chow while carefully observing the surroundings with her divine sense. This mountain range was barren of spirit chi, so there was naturally nothing to see. What she paid attention to were the martial artists wielding their artifacts. She was very curious about how the body-refining pavilion accepted disciples in the Chu country. All the cultivation clans in the Chu country were inextricably linked to the major sections. The body-refining pavilion was in a dormant state, so it was impossible for them to accept disciples from the cultivation clans. There were only 1 in 10,000 people in the secular world who had spirit roots, so it was too difficult to find them. There were more than 200 martial artists wielding their artifacts in the valley. Could it be that the body-refining pavilion had someone specialized in accepting disciples in the secular world? The curious Fairy Fong Yuan did not restrain her divine perception mystic technique to sense the spirit roots of the martial artists. She then revealed a look of disbelief and said, "How is this possible? These martial artists do not have spirit roots?" Sher Chow looked at Fairy Fong Yuan, whose expression had changed greatly, and the corners of her mouth curled up slightly. "Sister Yuan, these martial artists that you saw do not have spirit root. They are outer sect disciples of the body-refining pavilion." Fong Yuan used her divine sense to carefully size up the martial artists using the Dharma artifacts. After observing for a while, she discovered that these Dharma artifacts were strange. They actually needed to be inlaid with spirit stones, which consumed the spirit chi within the spirit stones. Moreover, every time the martial artist used the power of the magic tool, they would also reveal the divine sense of a 4th-level chi refining cultivator. The surface of their arms would also fluctuate with spiritual energy, but there was no aura of transcendence energy. From the looks of it, martial artists who were able to use magic tools had awakened their divine senses. They had a unique secret technique that allowed them to mobilize spiritual energy and activate strange magic tools. In other words, the body-refining pavilion could allow mortals to possess the battle prowess of a chi-refining cultivator? Low-level cultivators were nothing in Fong Yuan's eyes. However, the body-refining pavilion had taken this step. Would it allow mortals to possess the battle prowess of a foundation establishment cultivator? If they could do this, Fairy Fong Yuan pursed her dry lip. Her divine sense surged as she tried to find mortals who were stronger. Those are earth-fire stones. These people? At this time, they had walked to a position near the center of the valley. Other than the tall tower in the middle, the most eye-catching thing was the mountain wall on the left. There were 20 caves carved out of it. Zhu Xiaofeng was floating in midair. Pieces of fiery red stones floated out of a huge crafting furnace. 10 or so men and women stood at the entrance of the cave, taking these fire stones that emitted a scorching aura one after another. The surface of these people's skin flashed with various colored light membranes. From the aura of transcendence energy on them, they were all in the early stage of foundation establishment. They were using their own hands to carry these terrifyingly hot firestones. After taking a few steps, the light membranes on the surface of their skin cracked. The high-temperature flames used to refine magic tools directly fell on their palms and arms. These little fellows in the early stage of foundation establishment actually used their flesh and blood to resist the burning of the firestones. This was simply inconceivable. These 10 or so people were the foundation establishment disciples of the body refining pavilion. With this kind of terrifying physical defense, even if they were hit by a foundation establishment cultivator's spell, they wouldn't be injured, right? Then, Fairy Fong Yuan examined them a few more times. She discovered that these people all had spirit roots, and their spirit roots were very ordinary. Could it be that the body refining pavilion didn't care about spirit root aptitude? She suppressed this doubt and looked at the mountain wall on the right. There were only 2 huge caves there. One of them emitted an intense cold aura, which seemed to be even denser than that of the land of death. Fairy Fong Yuan's divine sense swept inside. She saw a bronze-armored corpse full of cold aura sitting cross-legged in the depths of the cave. She quickly withdrew her divine sense. It was very obvious that this top-notch bronze-armored corpse had almost killed her younger brother, Fong Xiaobo. That's a black mountain ape. Fairy Fong Yuan saw a majestic black gorilla enter the cave at the side. The demon spirit energy it emitted was at least at the 6th level. Behind this black gorilla, there was a group of black-haired apes of various sizes. They all followed into this cave. The Black Mountain Ape Tribe? Fairy Fong Yuan's expression was astonished. If the information she received was correct, wasn't the Black Mountain Ape Tribe exterminated by the Star Moon Pavilion and the Golden Spear sect? Was this another tribe? A tribe meant a bloodline inheritance. She shook her head. Even if this Black Mountain Ape Tribe had an inheritance, she didn't dare to have any ideas. This little golden monkey is very intelligent. Could it be the long-armed ape monkey that the patriarch mentioned, and the one beside it is the silver spot leopard? The body refining pavilion actually has so many top-notch demon beasts. On the platform at the top of the tower, Lu Kuan, Qin Yushu, and Zhu Siming sat cross-legged. Qin Yushu's eyes flashed with sadness. I didn't expect junior brother to be the same as master and be used as a refining material by old demon Pang. Fortunately, junior brother survived. Zhu Siming sighed. Old demon god Pang was a top-notch great cultivator. In order to break through to the spirit formation stage, he had set up so many backup. But in the end, he died in the hands of his own disciple. Fortunately, he still did something and severely injured old demon Sure. Lu Kuan said in a deep voice, "We must seize this opportunity and destroy the miraculous gate in one fell swoop." Qin Yushu said, "Junior brother, we have a general understanding of your plan. Now that the body refining pavilion's strength has increased by leaps and bounds, it's time to change the alliance strategy that we once agreed upon." Hearing this, Lu Kuan couldn't help but look at Zhu Siming. Zhu Siming sighed. Speaking of which, the Yeyang clan developed because of the art of refining. But at the same time, it was also destroyed because of the art of refining. A sect that inherits this kind of art must be protected by a powerful force in order to truly grow. Qin Yushu looked at Lu Kuan and said seriously, "I've discussed this with Master Zhu. In the future, the Treasure Pavilion will be the logistics sect of the Body Refining Pavilion. It will be subordinate to the Body Refining Pavilion. With the protection of the body cultivators, we only need to focus on the art of refining." Zhu Siming added, "If we focus on this, perhaps the Treasure Pavilion will be able to recreate the glory of the Yeyang clan." Lu Kuan didn't act pretentious and said seriously, "This is indeed the best way. The two of you can rest assured that the Body Refining Pavilion will do its best to protect the Treasure Pavilion." Qin Yushu teased. Then, Master Lu, what do you need our treasure pavilion to do in the upcoming sect war? Lu Kuan's expression turned serious. I do have some secret arts in refining that I want to discuss with the two of you. One of them is the Great Five Elements art, and the other is the art of refining demonic tools. Qin Yushu and Zhu Siming looked interested. They had just heard Lu Kuan mention the Great Five Elements art. It was a secret art in the refining method of the Jade Bone humanoid devil. As for demonic tools, they had only heard of them. It was said that they were weapons refined by the demon race. Then, they began to discuss the art of refining at the top of the tower. Chapter 896. After a full 2 days and 2 nights, Lu Kuan finally imparted the Great Five Elements art and the Jade Bone humanoid demon secret technique to Zhu Siming and Qin Yushu. After a long while, Zhu Siming said in admiration, Old Fiend Pang is indeed the #1 demonic cultivator in the state of Qi. His wisdom is astonishing. He was actually able to combine the Great Five Elements art and the fusion method of sentient puppets to improve the refinement method of the Jade Bone humanoid demon. Qin Yushu opened his eyes and sighed. The Great Five Elements art is incomparably exquisite. It describes the fundamental characteristics of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, as well as the characteristics and fusion method of different attributes. If I can comprehend it for a while longer, I'm afraid my wind shadow incantation will advance even further. Lu Kuan's eyes flickered with a peculiar luster. I'm afraid even Old Fiend Pang himself doesn't know that after the Great Five Elements art fused with my bones, it unexpectedly mended my 5 elements spiritual roots. Zhu Siming and Qin Yushu were dumbfounded upon hearing this. Qin Yushu stammered, Pavilion Master means that this secret technique can produce spiritual roots out of thin air? Zhu Siming stared at Lu Kuan in disbelief. Lu Kuan affirmed, That's right. My body-tempering mantra has also transformed into the 5 elements body-tempering mantra. He ignored the shock of the two and continued, The refinement of the Jade Bone humanoid demon is extremely difficult. If the requirements and effects are lowered, and a bone magic weapon with spiritual roots can be refined, then even mortals will have the possibility of cultivating their bodies. Zhu Siming and Qin Yushu's mouths were slightly agape. It took them a long time to recover from their shock. Zhu Siming took a deep breath and analyzed. The Jade Bone humanoid demon has fused many different attributes. In order to bear the conflicting forces of different attributes, it needs to use the bone foundation of a matured artifact. If the requirements are lowered and changed to a single attribute, ordinary magic treasures will be able to bear it. Then, the requirements of the bone foundation stone can be lowered even further. Zhu Siming's eyes gradually lit up as he spoke. The cultivators captured by Old Fiend Pang were all in the late core formation stage. If the requirements are lowered to a single attribute early golden core, then the bone foundation will be able to bear it. Lu Kuan added, The reason why I was able to complete my spiritual roots is because the bone foundation is my own bones. Spirit body spirit artifact refinement art of the human race. The demon race is the only body-tempering cultivators are able to refine their body's bones into artifacts. Heavenly Dowses' words body tempering heavenly immortals body tempering cultivations immortal break the rule immortal cultivation Spirit heavenly spirit essence spirit mantra spirit cultivators cultivation of the spirit essence was of the of Tao of to there this of two A's of course. S to have spirit. After a meal of cultivation methods, the two of them gradually cleared up their thoughts. Zhu Siming organized his thoughts. It seems that there are still a few difficulties in refining this tool's spiritual root. The first hurdle is whether the bone material of a mortal can meet the requirements of the tool spirit root. Lu Kuan pondered for a moment before saying, "Judging from the material of the artifact, only the bones of a body cultivator in the bone tempering stage would barely meet the requirements. However, the artifact's spirit root doesn't refine the entire body's bones. As long as a small piece of bone is chosen, such as the sternum, with the special characteristics of the spirit root, the mortal martial artist can transform it into physical dermic powers. Then, they can rely on the spirit-controlling immortal artifact to aid their cultivation. As for the material of the sternum, we can design a unique spirit-controlling immortal artifact that fits close to the chest, allowing the martial artist to mobilize a large amount of spirit energy to temper the sternum." Qin Yushu asked curiously, "Pavilion Master, why did you choose the sternum? There are many smaller bones. The smaller it is, the faster the tempering process." Lu Kuan explained, "If it's any smaller, I'm afraid that the effect of the spirit root will be too weak. The sternum is located in the center of the body and is connected to the ribs. It can be removed in a short period of time to refine it. At present, it seems that the sternum is the most suitable." Zhu Siming concluded, "Looking at it this way, the first hurdle will depend on the tempering of the martial artist's sternum." Lu Kuan nodded and said, "I will arrange for the second-generation disciples and the disciples of the Treasure Pavilion to work together on a spirit-controlling immortal artifact that can speed up the tempering of the sternum. Then, I will let all the martial artists who have completed the Vajra mantra to temper their sternum. According to my estimation, if they use spirit energy to temper the sternum for about 30 years, the material should reach the level of an artifact material. This hurdle shouldn't be too big of a problem." Zhu Siming said again, "The second hurdle is the other material of the tool spirit root, the golden core. If we can find a way to refine the tool spirit root, according to the different attributes of each person's bone structure and golden core, there will be a certain probability of success. There are too many martial artists and too few core formation stage cultivators. We can't kill a large number of core formation stage cultivators from other sections. The golden core limits the number of tool spirit root." Lu Kuan said coldly, "The most important thing now is to take the first step. In the upcoming Wei Kingdom War, there will be many core formation stage cultivators from the Green League and the Miraculous Gate. These golden cores will be used to test the first batch of tool spirit root." Then he said, "The golden core of the immortal cultivators has the attributes of the 5 element. The same goes for the Yao cores of the demonic beast. If the golden core experiment is successful, we can test the possibility of using the Yao cores. The kingdom of Chu is about to face the invasion of the demonic beast. There will be a large number of demonic beasts of the 5th level and above appearing from overseas. The body refining pavilion can take this opportunity to hunt for a large number of Yao cores. If the research on the tool spirit root is successful, we can ask Fairy Fong Yuan to help us research the replacement of the Yao cores." Zhu Siming nodded lightly and continued, "The third obstacle is the problem of the materials for the miniature array. Pavilion Master's body refining array is inscribed with blood marrow powder. Aside from blood clotting grass, the refining of blood marrow powder also requires the blood essence of a cultivator. The material recorded in the sentient puppet requires the blood essence of a core formation stage cultivator. Bone tempering stage body cultivators have an astonishing amount of blood essence and can meet the requirements. But for martial artists who have mastered the Vajra mantra, the strength of their blood essence is still lacking." Lu Kuan pondered for a moment and said, "This is easy to solve. Martial artists who have mastered the Vajra mantra recover their blood essence faster than immortal cultivators. They can save up their blood essence every year. After 20 to 30 years worth of blood essence, we can cast spells to condense the blood essence and meet the requirements for refining blood marrow powder." Zhu Siming thought for a moment and said slowly, "These can all be solved. The next step is to design the array. The 5 elements art and the core formation method of the sentient puppet will have to be adjusted according to the size of the sternum. Lu Kuan said with a serious expression, "Then I'll have to trouble martial Uncle Zhu and senior apprentice Brother Qin." Qin Yushu smiled and said, "If the artifact spirit root is born, I'm afraid the martial artists of the body refining pavilion will go crazy." Lu Kuan's eyes shone with a golden light as he said, "The top martial artists of the mortal world all have a heart that pursues the strong. The spirit root is like a natural barrier blocking their path. If they have the artifact spirit root, it will be equivalent to breaking the law of mortals being unable to cultivate. Even if the probability of refining the artifact spirit root is low, these top martial artists will not give up." Lu Kuan looked outside and saw that the martial artists were still cultivating hard. Not a single one of them was slacking. He murmured, "Mortal martial artists cultivate the Vajra mantra, refine their sternum, refine their artifact spirit roots, transform their body's magic power, muscle refining stage, bone tempering stage, and break through the limits of their lifespan. If the artifact spirit root is developed, then the body refining pavilion will open the door to cultivation for all mortal martial artists. When the time comes, countless top martial artists will gather at the body refining pavilion. Martial artists with spirit roots can be accepted as official disciples, while martial artists without spirit roots can be accepted as outer disciples. They will also have the possibility of cultivating body refining. With the addition of a large number of low-level disciples, the body refining pavilion will be able to develop rapidly. Qin Yushu and Zhu Siming listened to Lu Kuan's words. Countless scenes of body cultivators roaming the immortal cultivation world flashed through their minds. Their breathing unconsciously quickened. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.